Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. We had Fani Willis testifying today. Jack Smith got hauled in front of Congress, and the chief judge testified in the Judge Dugan trial, the backdoor judge. All coming up. It's great to be back with you. We were here live this morning. We went through about 2 hours of the Fani Willis testimony this morning, maybe a little longer, 2 hours and 15 minutes or so. They took a break. They had a lunch session. Then they came back in after that and wrapped it up, but it wasn't as interesting as the first little bit of it. But we've got 3 great segments today. It's great to be with you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing to our channel and all the things. Let's just dive right into it because I can't even get over this photo of the big Fani in Georgia. Fani Willis melts down today in the Georgia Senate. And you can tell it started off in an interesting fashion, literally, because she came waltzing into the courtroom in whatever the heck this is. And we don't spend a lot of time on fashion, but when you are the biggest Fani in Georgia, and we've got a clip of that, she thinks she is the best DA, arguably in the country, but she waltzed in with like a dead polar bear on her or something. Those are big animals, so it's fitting. But Fani came out, and you can see even this dude is like, oh gosh, I can't believe I have to walk behind her. But she waltzes in. We've had a lot of back and forth over this testimony. Of course, the Georgia Senate created a special committee to go and investigate the RICO case, the 19 defendants that were charged by Big Fani after she hired Nathan and then paid him $600,000, $700,000. Lots of testimony today. We've got the highlights queued up here. But it's not just the outfit, all right? She's also got a purse, apparently, that's like $10,000. You can see this is what she looked like when she came in, taking the coat off and letting it just drape and dangle, the scene inside the courtroom. And one person we did not see there today was Nathan Wade, wondering where he's at and why he didn't show up to support his lover. Nathan. But here's the handbag, man. So Kylie Jane Kremer posted this over on X. Shout out for looking this up. She said, while testifying before the Georgia Senate, Fani casually brought along a Louis Vuitton LV bag, whatever that is, a spring-summer 2025 runway collector's piece. The biggest Fani in Georgia, man. We've been saying that forever. She shows up with an $11,000 handbag. $10,990 pre-tax, not vintage, not thrifted, not old. It's a brand new limited runway item most people can't even find, much less afford. But Fani, the testimony today was all about finances and where that money came from. And did it come from a forfeiture fund? Did it come from the general fund? Where'd all that $700,000 that was paid over to Nathan, her lover, where'd all that come from? So here's her $11,000 plus handbag, seen right there. So she brings that in. She thinks she's like a rapper or something. It's really the weirdest thing we've ever seen. She's talking about the N-word in her testimony. She's talking about white CFOs, talking about crying with black children, all sorts of weird things. So that's what she brought in with her. Here's a little close-up of this just to see what this lady is, what we're dealing with here. This is an LV fan. It's pretty ugly, as you can see right there. It's got the logos on there. It's $11,000. I honestly don't get it, and I never have, but I probably never will. So she got $11,000 and, of course, brings that in with her and then has to answer questions about what went down with her criminal prosecution of the president. And here she is talking about money. This is how rich this gets. So she's screaming about how she doesn't have any money to hire good attorneys. And part of this whole scam is because she went and picked her lover, Nathan Wade. They met at some event. We heard testimony during the evidentiary hearing to disqualify her that they were indicting each other, okay? Nathan and Fani, long before Fani ever became the DA. And there was a bunch of testimony this morning about the timeline of all of this. And Fani was calling everybody ignorant and all the things before she went, hired her lover, paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars. They had 2-hour lunch meetings on her schedule. Nathan Wade was block billing, so he would work for 24 hours straight without even taking a pee break. That's how efficient that guy was. We also saw that they were traveling back and forth, going to Washington, D.C. to meet with the January 6th Select Illegal Committee, and on and on and on. And so a lot of the testimony today is going to sound like this. It's really Fani filibustering. And the senators who were asking her questions, I think, did a good job. At the start of this, we're like, just shut her up, man. You got to reclaim control of the proceeding. But he just let her go. He just kind of just let her go, just kind of smiling. Okay, just keep going. And then she ultimately ended up losing it. So we'll get there, talking about she's getting called the N-word and all sorts of attacks coming against her. Why don't you do something about it? She's screaming. What, you want the Senate to investigate crimes? That's your job, Fani. So anyways, here's this clip of her talking about some pay periods, courtesy of Carly Bonney. Fani Willis says public servants don't get paid enough. Her boyfriend sure did. And they went on some very nice vacations to Napa Valley, down to the Caribbean, all over the place, drinking Grey Goose, you know, the things. Here's Fani.
Administrators, some of that is illegal assistance. I'm not going to be able to guess at these numbers.
Sure. The state pays a minimum salary for all district attorneys and assistant DAs, is that correct?
No.
Okay. Can you walk us through the pay structure?
The state pays for my office about 25 ADAs. They're woefully underpaid. The salary that the state paid is a joke right now. If you want to look at some legislation, you should.
Your salary's doing good. You got an $11,000 handbag. Is that because you're getting millions of dollars? Where'd that come from?
Look at paying DAs across this country more money because they do not make enough money, and it is very hard for people to recruit DAs at the state pay.
So, whatever. I was a defense attorney. I'm still a defense attorney, not practicing anymore. But when I was coming out of law school, everybody wanted a government job. Everybody's like, I'll just go get a government job, okay? That way I can't get fired and I'll have security and all these days off of vacation and guaranteed pay and all the things. So it is very common for new lawyers to want to go race to get a government job, and many prosecutors will actually do that for a few years. Some of them will do it for 10 years. They'll get all of their loans paid off by the federal government. Thank you, Uncle Sam. And then they'll turn around and become defense attorneys and just say, I used to be a prosecutor for 10 years. I'm like, okay, great. So we're supposed to believe that you really care about the presumption of innocence when you spent 10 years putting people in prison. Anyways, here is Fani.
So for those 20 or so some lawyers that work at state pay, I do one of two things as incentives.
What?
The first thing I do is the ones that work in-house, I give them supplements that the county pays because the pay is so low and really just an embarrassment to think that we pay public servants at that rate. Another incentive I offer to some other very seasoned ADAs that are further along in their career that are my state paid employees, I let them work 95% remotely, and all they do is indict cases for my office. The rest of the lawyers paid by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office are in fact paid by the county, but you should note here that I am a state employee. I am not a county employee.
Okay.
I represent the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. The Fulton County DA is really slang. Administrator.
Slang. What did she just say? Is it a name of somebody? All right, so she will sit there and scream about her public servants and how hard it is to get people. You can be a prosecutor in Fulton County and work in your underwear at home and just indict people via Microsoft Word and email those into the office 95% of the time. In the same breath where she's like, we can't recruit anybody. I think there's a lot of prosecutors who would like to indict people from their underwear. So that's just clip one. We've got a bunch more coming up. We've got here from Fani. She started to melt down. The first hour was the hardest. The analogy is kind of like, you know, when you bring your dog to a dog park, they're all excited. Then they sniff each other. Then they calm down a little bit. That's kind of how Fani sounded today. She just came out screaming, calling everybody dumbass questions and things like this. Here's what Fani had to say.
So it's your testimony today that you and Mr. Wade did not have any conversations prior to you taking office relative to an investigation into the 2020 election.
Okay, that's a lie.
That is a deliberative privilege of what goes on in a district attorney's mind and the process that goes.
She wasn't district attorney.
She was.
No, she wasn't.
Prior to being sworn in, she was district attorney?
No, she was not, but you asked.
I'll return to my question. Prior to you being sworn in as district attorney, is it your testimony today that you did not have any conversation with Mr. Wade about investigating the 2020 election?
Look to your lawyer. This is the former governor.
Do you want to answer?
She's looking to you because she doesn't.
It is, but go ahead and tell him because.
Okay, she says it's a dumbass question. I was speaking over it.
20 election.
Do you want to answer?
It's a dumbass question.
I know it is, but go ahead and tell him because it occurred after she took office. But go
I didn't know that he was going to commit a crime prior to me taking office. Like, factually, it's impossible.
It's not factually impossible. We have some very dumb people here. I can't believe this guy used to be the governor and how far he's fallen down. He used to govern the whole state. Now he's sitting by Fani Willis and having to, I guess, just hang out with her. He didn't really do much today. So that's the governor. We heard him testify earlier.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so what Fani is saying, how could I possibly be working on this case if I didn't even take office until January 2021? Remember, Fani ran as part of the 2020 election, and we tried to cover this while we were live, but it was moving so fast we couldn't do it. So I wanted to just circle back on this and pause here. This is the indictment that Fani Willis brought, and the indictment came after she was in office. That is true. But the crime that she's contemplating, that she's talking about, and a lot of the testimony was about her transition. And when did she start talking about prosecuting Trump? We also talked about all of the money that she was spending to monitor how much this was generating in terms of media attention. And so this is the full indictment. We've already seen it. We covered it here when it dropped originally. But the crime was committed, according to her, in December. As you can see right here, members of the enterprise, Trump and the other 18 people, appeared at hearings in Fulton County, Georgia. That's her county. December 3rd, December 10th, December 30th, 2020. And that's where they made their false statements. Okay. So she wins the election in November. She starts transitioning and they start to work on prosecuting the president. Now, they've got evidence of that because they then, after this, they brought up a transcript from Nathan Wade, her indicted lover, and they showed him explaining this. He was on the transition team. He was helping, and they were talking about prosecuting Trump. Okay, no different than Letitia James or Alvin Bragg running to go and prosecute Trump. So factually, it's not impossible. Okay, you're alleging the crime committed before you ever took office. You were transitioning in, and you were already working on this case. Now, Fani was being very coy today. Of course, she's an idiot, but she can get one thing right, is she can say, I don't recall, and she can just throw a temper tantrum rather than answering a question and then filibuster off into a different planet and waste time on that. So if she is lying about something, right, this is something that I think there might be more to. She's saying, I didn't start, I didn't investigate it, I couldn't have even done it, but Nathan Wade said that they did. Okay, so we have the lines are crossed. Somebody's telling the truth, somebody is not. And Fani, in this little clip, was panicking. It's a dumbass question. No, it's not. Did you read your indictment? You're alleging the offenses occurred before you took office. And when you were transitioning, you were already beginning to prosecute the case. So we've got more clips coming up, but here's a little bit of the story from CNN that give us a summary of everything that went down and some reaction after the fact. And at one point, they even had to cut her mic. And it didn't really do much because you could still hear her over the other mics, but she was ranting and raving and melting down, talking about the N-word and all sorts of things coming up. But here's some more for the full hearing, squeezing about 3 hours plus into an article. They say a defiant Fani testified on Wednesday, being scrutinized for multiple things. She said, let me tell you why this is such a damn joke. She was being questioned by the guy in the center called Greg Dolezal, a Republican state senator. She was attacking him like, I know you want higher office. I'm the best DA in America. Now, the investigative committee met today. We covered it. During the hearing, Dolezal questioned her about her lover, Nathan's hot dog. Why don't you investigate how many times my house has been swatted? She forcefully told the committee, why don't you investigate how many times they've called me the N-word? Okay, well, you're the DA. Are you alleging a crime has been committed? Why are law enforcement officials swatting your house when you're the DA of Fulton County? Did they not have your phone number? Do they think that you murdered somebody? Swatting, right? You call the police. Hey, somebody killed somebody at this house. We heard gunshots. And the cops show up and they maybe kill you because they think you're armed and dangerous and you're murdering people in there. So if that's happening, I don't know why Fani is not getting a phone call from her law enforcement people in her county, but I think she's just a liar. Okay. And I'd like to know who is calling her the N-word. Do you want to give us some explanation on that? Who are these people? Because we haven't heard that be lobbed at her. In fact, she just likes to talk about race constantly. We think she's just kind of fried in the brain on that one. But former Georgia Governor Roy Barnes was also there. He called the whole thing a witch hunt, which is hilarious because Fani went after 19 people in a witch hunt. screaming at the guy. You're not a judge. You don't have the power to make rulings. You don't have the power. Willis responded, I think you are confusing the facts. You all have been trying to intimidate me for 5 years, which is why I've not been able to live in my house for 5 years. Because the N-word has been written on my house. Thousands of threats have come to my office. Those are crimes, by the way. You can't threaten public officials. They take that very seriously. They'll put you in prison for that, just for making an angry, drunken phone call. Governor, I'm going to come over there. They'll put you in prison for that without even thinking about it. So how come that's allowed to happen over and over? She kind of is reminding me of like Juicy Smollett. Did they come over to your house and say, this is MAGA country, Fani? Did they say that? Were you out at Subway at 2 a.m? Did they leave a noose around your property too? I ain't gonna quit in a month because somebody threatened me. She said, I ain't going. Now, she didn't say going. She never said going with a hard NG ever. Is gone. I ain't gone. I ain't gonna quit in a month because somebody threatened me. I took an oath, she said. Now, when Barnes asked the prosecutor, I guess Fani, do you want to answer this question? She said it's a dumbass question. And the whole testimony is really embarrassing for the entire legal profession and for the people of Georgia. I know they voted overwhelmingly for Fani Willis because she's black and female and blue as a Democrat, and that's all that matters to many people in America now. Even if you are, just like trash, literally, during testimony. I mean, you can condemn anybody on Trump's side. If you're in the mainstream media, you can say, man, Kristi Noem had a bad attitude when she was up there, or Kash Patel was being very rude to those senators up there, or any one of Trump's people had a bad attitude. Nothing even remotely resembling what we saw from Fani today. She's an elected official, a DA, and she's supposed to pursue justice. Instead, we got a freak show circus act from her today. So, and of course, she's covering up her crimes. She's covering up not reporting or disclosing all of the financial benefits that she got from Nathan, didn't disclose their relationship that like they should have done, lied in the middle of court. Scott McAfee just sat there and took it because Fani's got a big mouth, man. She starts running it, everybody in there's like, holy crap, this person's like a lunatic. So, like if somebody's going crazy on the streets, you're just like, we're just going to walk the other way. I think that's happening in Georgia. People are just walking the other way. Fani Willis just comes in and starts screaming at everybody, and all the dudes there are like, holy crap. And they just leave. So Wade was hired. He got paid $700,000. She gave fiery testimony. They both lied through their teeth at that court hearing. And Judge McAfee didn't do anything about it because he's also pathetic and needed to win re-election. So the system is just broken through and through. And she knows that. She knows that. That's why she came out here. She's basically untouchable, just like Tish is untouchable, just like Comey is untouchable. We have a bunch of people who can just get away with whatever they want in America, even when they're in elected positions of power. The system is badly corrupted. Thankfully, the Georgia Senate is looking into it. But here's another excerpt from the biggest Fani in all of Georgia.
The date that I have is January 24th of 2022. Does that seem like it's within the range of being the correct date?
Sir, I already stated I don't trust you. I understand you're trying to run for lieutenant governor right now. Anything you want me to testify to?
Okay, so what? You run for DA every 4 years. So what? What does that mean?
I'm going to need to see.
Okay. Were you aware that in between the time of the special grand jury being sworn in and receiving evidence, Mr. Wade traveled to Athens, Georgia to meet with officials from the White House counsel's office?
Oh.
I don't recall.
Liar. Liar. Yes, you do. You do.
On the right-hand side here is the meeting that I reference. The highlighted section reads, travel to Athens, conf with White House.
How does this assist you in developing laws?
Because you paid for that, and your office was behind all of that activity. So if they need to create some more ethical laws so that you can act like a real integrous person who actually has some honor in your life, then they'll pass those laws to take your office off of this current path and return it to a sense of normalcy.
For Georgia, because I believe the purpose that I'm here for
That's why
is
we're here.
Because you all need assistance in doing your job.
No. We have questions about how you stole $700,000 and gave it to your lover who you were having sex with repeatedly for years while you were prosecuting the president and 18 other people who were innocent and had no basis for being prosecuted by your corrupt, scandalous team. You got disqualified. McAfee said you had a noxious odor emanating out of your entire office. You have people in your jails dying of being eaten by bed bugs. You're a disaster. That's why we're here. They're asking you questions about why you can't do your job, Fani.
And you want assistance with rules and regulations around how people should be a prosecutor. And it made sense to me that you'd come to the best prosecutor in the state to ask for some advice. But
I can't even believe she would say that. Like, it's rude to your other prosecutors. And who talks like that? Who thinks like that?
I'm confused as to how this assists.
You just lost. If you're the best prosecutor in the whole state, how come your case got dismissed, Fani? Oh, that sucks.
You and what the purpose of me being here is.
The committee has a broad purpose. I'd be happy to refer to counsel as to the overall purpose of the committee. But
No,
my
he doesn't know
question
what he's
for you
doing
is,
either.
as it relates
I
to
don't
this
think it's
travel-
relevant, so I'm objecting on relevance.
She's
Okay.
asking answer that. She's told you that the TUI process goes through the White House counsel's office. She's asked, it's been asked and answered.
And it's your testimony today that the travel to Athens conference with the White House counsel, as far as you were aware, was due to a part of this TUI process that the governor's referencing.
I've testified. I don't recall anything about this.
Don't recall. Okay? She doesn't want to get caught in a lie. She doesn't want to get nabbed in a perjury trap. So it goes right back to I don't recall. When she wants to rant and rave, it's about something that's not really substantive. The point of this is to try to catch her in a lie, ultimately. And she's very sneaky and snaky, getting away from it. We've already talked about her testimony about how she wasn't working on the case when she was, according to Nathan Wade, so that's a lie. This is another I don't recall. That's a lie. You knew where your special prosecutor was. You were having sex with him repeatedly. You were texting each other like a gazillion times. I forget what the total number was. It was insane, okay? They're like children texting each other and phone calls. Honestly, I don't even know if I've sent that many text messages literally in my entire life. It was like 10,000, tens of thousands of text messages and phone calls within a very short, limited period of time. Not over like 40 years, like 2 years. All day, texting, calling, sleeping with each other, going to each other's houses. She didn't know that he took a trip to D.C. to meet with the J6 committee. She didn't know that he went to Athens to go meet with the special counsel to the White House counsel's office. The whole thing was being orchestrated by Joe Biden and Merrick Garland. And their operation, they sent people to New York, Matthew Colangelo to help Alvin Bragg. Fani was doing the same thing, colluding with the J6 committee. She wasn't doing it. Nathan Wade was doing it, who she was sleeping with. And then suddenly, I don't recall. And she gave us at the opening one of the most insanely narcissistic, I guess, biographies you've ever heard from anybody. Most people just say, oh yeah, I went to law school. I worked in this office for a certain period of time. I've done these things. Any questions for me now? I know I'm confident in my skill sets, my capabilities. If you really are the best DA in the country or the best DA in the state or whatever, your reputation should speak for itself. You don't need to flamboyantly elevate and pump yourself up like she did. But that's what she does, because she walked in with an $11,000 handbag and a polar bear hanging around her neck. Now, here's the clip of her literally saying she's the best DA in, I think, the Southeast is what she says.
You run a tight ship over there. You're proud of your work. I would assume that you would have
I'm the
some
best
sort of-
DA in the Southeast. Why wouldn't I be proud of my work?
Wild.
You run a tight ship
Okay,
over
so-
there. You're proud of your.
Most people would say our office is amazing. Yeah, we do tremendous work. We're the biggest DA's office in Georgia. We handle the most cases. My team is incredible. We do great work. Of course, I'm proud of my office. That's not what she said. She said, I am the best DA in the Southeast. There's something off in the brain. It's like a mania. I don't like to diagnose people here, but she's crazy. So here's another one. Here's where she starts dropping the N-word and screaming about you guys not investigating my house getting spray painted with the N-word. They're a Senate committee. They don't have any prosecutorial power, you weird lady. You're the DA. You should be prosecuting and investigating these things or turning it over to the state agency to do it. You're a county attorney. Turn it over to the state AG. Turn it over to somebody higher than you who's also in the executive branch, who's also prosecuting crimes. So this is Fani, again, just kind of melting down and pounding the table.
I don't review those documents, so you're asking me to look at documents that I haven't for the first time. What I can tell you is that I only allowed Mr. Wade to bill 160 hours a week, and then Mr. Wade would be the first one in the office making sure that my staff arrived. He corrected their behavior. They thought that 8:30 meant 8:30. He taught them that 8:30 means 7:45. He got there before them. He left after him. He taught them how to do this case, and he was a leader to that team and a public servant. And for that, him like me has been threatened thousands of times.
Thousands of threats? Thousands. Wow. And they're not looking into it. She's a terrible prosecutor. I mean, who's making all these threats that they just keep calling? Like, I'm just going to call you again tomorrow. She's like, okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Another threat every day, every day. Thousands? That's like one a day for years. Okay.
Want something to investigate as a legislature? Investigate how many times they've called me the
And she's getting pretty close to that microphone. She's almost swallowing it, thinking it's Nathan Wade.
Why don't you investigate that? Why don't you investigate them writing on my house? Why don't you investigate the fact that my house has been swatted? If you want something to do with your time that makes sense, and you can use all this in your campaign ad, you attacked Fani Willis. What have you done, sir? Nothing.
So I'm going to refer you to
lunatic. Swallowing the mic.
The screen. I know you said you don't approve.
I don't look at this. I've never seen it,
bills.
so I can't talk to you about documents I don't approve and don't review. Can't talk to you about it.
Who does approve the documents in your office when invoices come in?
I thought we'd been through this.
I don't believe you said who reviews the invoices and approves the invoices in your office.
First of all, I have no firsthand knowledge of it.
Okay.
You have no firsthand knowledge.
You want me to testify about something I don't have any firsthand knowledge of?
I'm asking.
That's not Nathan Wade, Fanny. Back up. Back up. This is a public hearing. He's not there. All right. So here's Senator Colton Moore. He came down after the hearing. And if you want to watch the full thing, we listened to like 2 hours and 15 minutes of it this morning with a bunch of deep analysis as best we could get. And here is Colton Moore, who came down after the hearing. And here is what he had to say about this entire debacle after being seated in the hearing room with the best DA in Georgia.
Hey everybody, it's State Senator Colton Moore. We're just walking out of corrupt Fani Willis's testimony before the Senate. You've been following along. We've been calling for this state Senate to investigate and defund Fani Willis. Well, now it's finally started. She showed up, and most of her answers revolved some kind of crazy race theory that she's come up with. We learned that her value politically has went up nearly $600 million, and she's keeping track of this throughout the entire time she was going after President Trump and the 18 others. What we learned today was absolutely astonishing, ridiculous, and now let's get to some accountability here in the Georgia State Senate. Thanks for keeping me in the fight. We'll be in touch.
All right. Shout out to Senator Colton Moore. That guy got thrown after trying to just get into a hearing. They threw him out on his butt, and you're kind of abusing the guy. And so we appreciate him. He says, if you want to go support his inquiry, he's been on this for a long time. He's at coltonmoore.com. And so that's what went down today. So she testified. Now, I'm sure the transcripts will be out, and we'll start to parse through them to see whether or not she was caught in a lie. But she testified today. I would say it was about maybe 3 hours and 15 minutes. There was about an hour break in there. But that's done. And of course, we're going to keep our eye on this one. She was fighting the subpoena for a long time, finally showed up to court, brought her $11,000 handbag with her, and then screamed about how everybody's racist there and how she gets thousands of threats a week, how Nathan Wade works 160 hours a week. Okay, a week. She corrected that later and said, I meant a month, but she was just on a tear. And of course, we're excited to finally see them get so panicky and so nervous, pounding the table. If you've got good law, you just sit there and argue the law. If you have good facts, you just sit there and argue the facts. But if you don't have either of those, if your facts are that you were sleeping with your special counsel, texting each other for years, ridiculous amounts, and paying him while you're going on cruises and saying this is all above board, not disclosing anything, lying to judges about it, the list goes on and on. Those are bad facts. You don't want to talk about those. The law's bad too. She also has to disclose these things. She's not allowed to do these things. So instead, they just come out and scream and scream and scream. And there was a lot of racism attacks in there saying, oh, I have a white CFO because my white CFO is not going to incriminate me, or I'll have her approve it. And then you'll know that I'm not stealing anything because a white woman signed off on it. It's like dripping with racism out of her mouth. The same people who talk about how everybody else is racist, they're the most racist people on the planet. And we got to see that on full display. Now, what are the consequences of this going to be? Are the people of Fulton County going to reelect her? Probably, because as we've said, the only things that matter are some indicia or some criteria for their party. Of course, in this case, black, woman, and blue, Democrat. All that matters, she can be a horrific prosecutor who is contemptible in her appearance. We want actual leaders. We don't want people who just act like they're rap stars or something, walking into court like they're Biggie Smalls. And now Fani can face the repercussions after the testimony, and maybe we'll have another prosecutor or a special prosecutor appointed to prosecute her for her lies. Of course, we're going to keep our eye on this one. And if you want to hear more of the testimony, we were live this morning. We went about 2 hours plus, and we got into the weeds with the biggest Fani and the best DA in the Southeast. So we'll keep our eye on this one. My friends, thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, changing gears just a little bit. We got a bunch of additional fun clips because Jack Smith was also testifying today. And so here is how this went down. Jack Smith, the illegitimate prosecutor who was illegally appointed, who waged war on the president and the country for years, now showing up to Congress to testify. He got a subpoena, and there was a back and forth on this, and we don't really need to have this happen, or if we want to have this happen, we should do it in public, which we would have appreciated, but they didn't. They did it behind closed doors, and a bunch of clips of Jack Smith walking into the court, getting hounded by questions, walking into Congress rather, not a court, but kind of similar feeling. So he's walking in, and we got an article that explains what some of the testimony sounded like, and then a bunch of reaction from people after this testimony occurred. So here is what it looked like when Jack Smith was waltzing into court to finally have some accountability his way. There he is.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith, do you have any regrets about the way your prosecution of the president was handled?
Here to respond.
Today, sir.
I'm waiting, Jack.
Mr. Smith, do you prefer a public setting for this hearing?
Everybody respond, Jack.
You wanted a public hearing.
The hunters become the hunters.
Mr. Smith, you said you wanted a public
should
hearing.
this be happening today? Should this be happening publicly today?
All this time to respond. What say you? Jack! Remember the Pence card
That's
had
Ivan. I got his
nothing to do with January 6th.
All right, so that's one angle. We have got some fun clips. He was getting questioned hard. Here's another one from Bill Malugin. You heard him on the right asking Jack some questions. He says, he answered none of my questions as he arrived on Capitol Hill this morning for a closed-door deposition, so we can't see it, but we will get transcripts, from Jim Jordan, House Judiciary Committee. Here was another angle of this, and then, of course, you could hear that one voice in the background. Ivan, Ivan, Ivan. Here's what it sounds like.
Mr. Smith, do you have any regrets about the way your prosecutions of the president were handled? What do you plan to tell the committee today, sir? Mr. Smith, do you prefer a public setting for this hearing?
How about you respond, Jack?
Mr. Smith, you said you wanted a public hearing. What do you want the public to know, sir?
All right, so
Smith is,
man, that was funny. That guy was very, look how polite this nice guy was. He's like walking right here, and then he thought he was going to get into the frame. Okay, I missed it. Anyways, all right, so that's that. Then here was another clip. This is from Ivan Raiklin, okay? And you know who he is if you've watched the show. We played some clips of him before. He was the last clip we played. He was out screaming at Abby Lowell, Hunter Biden's lawyer, about all sorts of things. Very fun. And so he was there today as well, saying Jack Ass Smith is in the courtroom or in the Congress building, and he got him right at security. And so here's what Ivan Raiklin was sharing. Give him a follow over on X at Ivan Raiklin. Here is this exchange.
Jack Smith.
Yeah.
Jackass Smith. Hey, Jack, why did you come after me in your subpoenas? There's 197 subpoenas. The 4 most important ones were targeted against Save America
look
PAC,
over here, Jack.
Save America Joint Fundraising Committee, MAGA PAC, and Trump MAGA. And you wanted to find out from Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita on whether or not they had communicated with me, Ivan Raiklin.
Look at that.
The Proud Boys, Oath Keepers. Sir, you can hear me. Respond.
Answer, Jack.
Why do you think many people out there call you Jackass Smith, sir? With all due respect. Sir.
I said with all due respect.
So you went after the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. You falsely in your filing said that the Pence card memo tweet that I wrote and posted that Donald Trump retweeted was somehow related to January 6th. Remember, the Electoral Count Act, Title 3 U.S. Code Section 12, refers to the December 23rd deadline of 2020 for the vice president to send back to the states that transmitted their illegitimate and illegal electors, all of them by which, to include 39 states in total because they ran their elections due to COVID rules. The Pence card memo was related to the Electoral Count Act. It had nothing to do with January 6th. Why did you take verbatim the January 6th Fedsurrection Cover-Up Committee's report claiming that the Pence card had anything to do with January 6th? Why do you have to be so ignorant, just like Jamie Raskin, just like Benny Thompson, just like the Pelosi, the entire Pelosi Fedsurrection Cover-Up Committee? Care to respond, Jack? I'm waiting, Jack, and so is the rest of America.
We are waiting.
How about you respond, Jack? The hunters become the hunted, huh?
Yeah.
Come on, Jack. I gave you all this time to respond. What say you?
Run away, Jack. Run away.
Jack! Remember, the Pence card had nothing to do with January 6th.
Hello, I'm Lanny.
Good luck.
Brewer. Jack Smith looks forward today to answering the questions of this.
Go to the mic.
All right, I got a clip of that later.
Jack Smith looks forward.
All right, so shout out to Ivan Raiklin. So I've got a clip of a different angle. He is the Secretary of Retribution. We're going to repost this at the top of our timeline so you can give him a follow. We appreciate the questions and we appreciate the facts that he was dropping in the process, walking Jack Smith through what a corrupt piece of poop he is. And here's more from Senator Kennedy, who was asked about this today as well, right before the testimony occurred. Here is Senator Kennedy.
What I would like to hear from Mr. Smith is the truth. I suspect it's highly unlikely he's interested in an outcome punishing someone he doesn't like. And I think he's going to be held accountable.
So we will see shortly how much they get out of this one. Search for answers on the Hill a short time from now.
I think he'll invoke, once we get the testimony, we'll see what he actually talks about. But here is more from Politico. So a couple people hearing murmurs of what they talked about. Here's what Politico is reporting on what happened inside behind the scenes. Says he was there. He led the federal criminal cases against Trump. And of course, both cases were total failures. The classified documents case was dismissed because Jack Smith is not a real boy. He's illegitimate. Merrick Garland cobbled together a bunch of statutes to say, we're going to make him a special counsel. Well, there is no special counsel statute, or there is, but you got to be a U.S. attorney. And Jack Smith is not a U.S. attorney. So he got thrown off the case. And then after Trump won, they had no choice, essentially, because of presidential immunity. And you can't really prosecute a sitting president to dismiss the J6 case. So he failed on both accounts. Now, apparently he gave an opening statement and he gave some of the statements to the media so the media could run with them and write articles. Here's what Jack Smith apparently said. He said, the decision to bring charges against Trump was mine. Kind of. It was yours, but you also had Merrick Garland and probably Joe Biden, who were also involved in it. Because Merrick Garland, as we know, after the raid occurred of Mar-a-Lago, he came out and explained unequivocally that he approved the search warrant. And then Jack Smith got all of those case files handed to him. Okay, the raid happened. Trump announced thereafter. Then after Trump announced, Merrick Garland came out and said special counsel. Now, Jack Smith didn't start a new investigation, an independent investigation to really get to the bottom of this. He inherited, and they sold it to us that way, like, well, the DOJ can't prosecute a political opponent of the president. So we're just going to go get Jack Smith. He's going to be independent and he'll prosecute things on his own after he does his own investigation, independent of the DOJ. That never happened. Jack Smith came in, absorbed Jay Bratt and the rest of the hacks at the FBI and the DOJ onto his team. And so he inherited a case where the decision had already been made, really. And he just was the hatchet man to come in and execute. So don't act like you are a special counsel. You're not. You worked for Merrick Garland before you were thrown off for being an illegitimate special counsel. The whole thing was fake. But the basis for those charges rests entirely with Trump and his actions, which he didn't do. He didn't do anything wrong. As alleged in the indictments returned by grand juries in 2 different districts, he says, okay, so what? One in D.C., one in Florida. D.C. would indict a ham sandwich as long as it's a Republican. Not anybody on the left, though, because they're on the same team. It's very tribal in many of these locations. Now, Jack said in his opening statement that our team found evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the election, and he's the president again. So Smith also said they found powerful evidence that the president tried to obstruct justice in his opening statement. He said, I made my decisions in the investigation without regard to Trump's association, his political beliefs. Yeah, right. We took actions based on what the facts and the law required. Okay. So he added, he would have made the same decision if it was a Democrat. No, you wouldn't have. Smith also defended the decision to request the phone data. Why'd you spy on all the senators? He said, exploiting that violence, Trump and his associates tried to call members of Congress to further the criminal scheme. I didn't choose those members. Trump did. And right now, our senators and our House representatives are just sitting around not doing anything about really any of this. I mean, they called him in to testify, but are they going to make a criminal referral over to Pam Bondi? And is Pam Bondi going to do anything about this? I mean, hopefully we get there. Abigail Jackson responded. She's a White House spokesperson after this. They said, you hear what Jack Smith said about you and the president? Abigail came out and said, Jack Smith is a lying hack who willingly weaponized the justice system against President Trump to try and benefit his Democrat cronies. Man, that's a flawless A++ statement right there. He is a lying hack. Yeah, in the wake of repeated calls for prosecution, Smith faced unique legal and political risk because he was never legitimate. His testimony is hamstrung by grand jury secrecy, so no, I can't talk about that. Justice Department policy, can't talk about that. And I've got court orders, can't talk about that. Now, walking into the deposition room, he did not answer questions that were shouted at him from reporters. The hunters become the hunted, huh? Someone shouted. You know who said that. That was Ivan Raiklin. Smith is represented by the big law giant called Covington and Burling. They were also sanctioned by Trump, and so Smith ran to his Democrat friends to help him through this. The move suspended security clearances for lawyers at the firm after Trump sanctioned them. Now, his lawyer came out, called Lanny Brewer, saying he looks forward to answering questions. There were a bunch of lawmakers who were in the room this morning, among them Scott Fitzgerald, rep from Wisconsin, Ben Klein, Virginia, Jared Moskowitz, Florida, Hank Johnson, capsized Guam Hank Johnson was there, making sure that the whole building didn't just capsize and get subsumed by water. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan and Ranking Member Jamie Raskin were also attending. Man, Jim better brought his A game today. Jack Smith has just spent several hours schooling the judiciary, said Raskin. He didn't provide any details. He didn't come with any particular message, Raskin said, but I'll just say he answered every single question, wow, to the satisfaction of any person in the room. Moskowitz said no, the interview was boring. Smith had been requesting a public forum for his testimony. Jordan, however, declined, and this was held behind closed doors, so we really can't see what happened inside. Here's a little bit more from the Washington Times. Jack told lawmakers he lawfully got their cell phone data because that hack Judge Boasberg signed off on it. Mr. Smith, testifying Wednesday behind closed doors, gave a full-throated defense, just like Fani, of the secret data collection, which involved more than a dozen Republican senators and GOP congressmen. He said, your data was collected because Trump called you. And that's why. He said J6 was an attack on the structure of our democracy. Oh my gosh. In which over 100 heroic law enforcement officers were assaulted. Over 160 individuals later pled guilty to assaulting police. They charged about 1,500, many of whom were invited in. And of course, in the January 6th prosecution, in the Proud Boys trial, we never got answers. We got some answers, but most of the evidence was kept out of the actual trial about the total extent of government agents, CHSs, government adjacent individuals who were in the crowd that day. We played video here many times of cops standing in the Congressional building, tapping other cops on the shoulder, telling them to stand aside so that protesters could walk into the building. Then they charged all of those people with parading in the Capitol. After they were literally let in, we played the video many times. I hope it's seared in your brain like it is mine. because it's sick. Lawmakers grilled Smith for several hours about Arctic frost. Probe began in 2022, was tasked with examining the actions of Trump and other Republicans. These people were secretly subpoenaed and grand juries were impaneled. Under Arctic frost, Smith went after 197 subpoenas, 430 people, went after everybody, even Charlie Kirk. Trump advisor Stephen Miller, Dan Scavino, Laura Trump, Ivan Raiklin, you saw. His legal team was there. They pushed back against all of this. But Jordan said they spied on Trump. They spied on senators. Now we just learned, Jim, they spied on me. If they can do it to us, they can do it to you. And then they're going to write some more letters and just send those out to somebody who put them right in the shredder. Hey, thanks, Jim. Oh, well. Mr. Smith's lawyer, Lanny Brewer. Lanny Brewer is a Democrat defense attorney. Heck, in our opinion, since he's representing Jack Smith. He says, here, let me tell you more about this guy. So this is the guy representing Jack Smith. I've got a clip of him queued up. So Jack Smith went and hired this guy. This guy was an assistant AG for Obama. They're all part of the same disgusting, incestuous family, and was also around when Bill Clinton was in office. 67 years old. He's a Democrat and is now representing Jack Smith. And he's got a long history here in the government, been in there for a long time, was also caught in the Fast and Furious scandal with Barack Obama right there. Chuck Grassley called for his attorney to resign because he was working on Fast and Furious. In September, they issued a report. The report exonerated Brewer. Of course it did, saying he didn't authorize any of this. And Grassley said the report's wrong. This guy's a bad dude, and he should have resigned. Then he went over to private practice, Covington and Burling. And when you're a good hatchet man, when you go into the government and you do their dirty work for them for a long time, they make sure you have a nice landing spot where you can make $4 million in private practice. Isn't that nice? So he's now representing Jack Smith. Jack Smith, of course, is a Democrat ally. And here is what the attorney said after or right before the hearing began. Lanny Brewer, Jack Smith's lawyer, was talking to the media today.
Here we go. Sorry. Good morning. Jack Smith looks forward today into answering the committee's questions into his investigation into President Trump's alleged attempt to unlawfully overturn the 2020 presidential election and his possession and secured the classified documents at his social club in Palm Beach. In today testifying before this committee, Jack is showing tremendous courage in light of the remarkable and unprecedented retribution campaign against him by this administration.
That's rich. Jack Smith prosecuted Trump in 2 locations after Jack Smith's team was lying to other people like Walt Nauda's lawyer, Stanley Woodward, trying to get him, not really lying to him, but trying to get him to flip his client, essentially, asking him to exploit and lie. I would say Jay Bratt was asking Stanley to have his client lie. So lying by proxy to go after President Trump. Now this is rich. Now we're asking, hey, wait a minute. We just learned the FBI didn't have a valid probable cause basis for even getting a search warrant. They brought that to the judge. They said, Judge, here, we do have probable cause. Here's all of our evidence. Do you think when Jack Smith was going to Bruce Reinhart, or rather the FBI, Jack Smith wasn't on the team yet when the raid happened, but he took over the entire set of case files. He just inherited all of the people, the FBI agents and the DOJ prosecutors just joined his team. It was just cover. He's a special counsel. Brought them all over. And Jack Smith was perverting this in the aftermath. So when the FBI went to Bruce Reinhart to ask about a warrant, did they tell, or the DOJ rather, did they tell the judge that the FBI sent in emails that they doubted that there was probable cause? Do you think Jack Smith's hack prosecutors, before they joined his team, made a beautifully candid presentation to the judge? And the judge said, well, if the FBI thinks there's no probable cause, but you do, then I'll just go ahead and find probable cause. I don't think so at all. They left all of that out. Judge Reinhart signs off on the warrant. They do the same thing with the grand jury. They say everything's by the books, but everything that we are now seeing shows that it wasn't by the books. We had literal objections from the FBI that were being overridden by the DOJ. Those were Merrick Garland's goons, Lisa Monaco's goons. They were all working for Joe Biden. And this guy can't hardly talk, but here's more of Jack Smith's attorney.
In this White House. Let's be clear. Jack Smith, a career prosecutor, conducted this investigation based on the facts.
He didn't even really do an investigation. He inherited 2 cases that he was already wanting to prosecute. So he furthered the investigation. He approved the subpoenas and he did all of those things. But he was just coming in not to come to his own independent conclusion about whether there was a basis for these charges. Didn't even care. It was already settled. He just needed to come in and get him across the finish line. And the media lied to all of us that he's a special counsel, or they use the phrase independent counsel a lot just to kind of interchange the two to confuse their audience who doesn't know anything better about this. But we all knew the truth. This was an operation.
And based on the law and nothing more. Thank you.
The FBI DOJ released documents showing that there wasn't
Okay, there's Ivan back there.
probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago. What do you say to that?
There was no probable cause to raid it, but they raided it anyways. And then all of that evidence that they got as a result of an illegal raid, which should have been fruit of the poisonous tree, should have never been used as evidence against the president because it was illegally seized. They used it. They went to a grand jury. They say, look what we got lawfully. And they lied through their teeth. So Jack Smith should obviously be disbarred at minimum. And hopefully much more will be coming on that. But here was some other clips here. We have Lance Gooden. He is a House representative, congressman from Texas. And he was talking about Jack Smith. Now, this was from a clip from this morning before the testimony went down. And so here's what he's thinking about it on the day that Jack was deposed.
Former special counsel Jack Smith is set to appear behind closed doors for a House Judiciary interview on his 2 probes into President Trump. One, of course, on classified documents, the other on the 2020 election. You're going to be a part of this interview. And when it comes to classified documents, Fox News just learned that the FBI did not believe it had probable cause to raid President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in 2022, but moved forward amid pressure from the Biden Justice Department, with an official saying he didn't, quote, give a damn about the optics of the search. How important is this new information to your line of questioning?
I think it's very damning. I think that what Jack Smith did was unprecedented, going into the home of a former president, refusing to let the president speak up. Remember, they had a gag order. They limited what President Trump could say. Yep. They tried to destroy this president. And thank God the American people saw through this last November and elected him. Otherwise, this would still be going. They would have locked President Trump up. He'd likely be in prison if Jack Smith had his way and the American people didn't vote to elect President Trump. And so what we want to have today is a discussion with Jack Smith. We want him to answer the questions about the origins, his contact with the prior administration. This was weaponized justice, and we want answers today in this deposition.
Understood. Well, it will be behind.
All right, we'll see what they got out of him. The depo transcripts, I'm sure, will be released soon. Chad Pergram, he reports over from Fox. He said that he just talked with Jim Jordan on Fox. He said, Jordan said, you know, Kevin McCarthy, he became Speaker of the House. We saw that. One day after Kev, became the top Republican, which is literally second in line to the president. Boom. McCarthy. They subpoena his phone records for 2 years prior to that. They got McCarthy's records too. They go where they had all. They've been investigating for months and months and months. And they wait until he becomes Speaker of the House to go get his phone records from Election Day of 2020 until January 7th of 2022. They go get them all. They knew who the Speaker called, who he called, when the call took place, how long the call lasted, and if Kevin McCarthy initiated the call. They know where he was at when he did so, and they can pattern his entire life for those 2 months time frame. And he did that after he gets elected as the top Republican in our government. Jordan says again, I think underscoring that this was political, this was about going after the Republican Party, and most importantly, it was about going after our candidate for president, President Trump. That's Jim Jordan. Somebody had to approve those non-disclosure orders. Those are judges, Judge Boasberg, the House of Representatives. Jim Jordan is the Judiciary Committee. They can launch some impeachment proceedings if they really care about this at all. Otherwise, I don't think that they do. And they're just acting like little slaves to the intelligence communities and to the system So hopefully we get some action on that soon. Here was a little bit more of Jim Jordan talking about this, and I believe this was again this morning.
We had interviewed Mr. D'Antuono, the head of the Washington field office, way back when, and he told us he was against what they did when they raided President Trump's home. And he said if they were going to actually do it, they should have called President Trump's lawyers. His lawyers should have met him there. They should have done it together. But no, they couldn't do it that way. They had to go in like they did without consulting with President Trump. Was working with them. So I think it just underscores how political this whole thing was. Not to mention the other things that happened with Jack Smith's investigation. Remember, they put a gag order on the President of the United States. This is something we'll ask him about today. They put a gag order on the former president, then candidate and that was shot down mostly by the appeals court when he got that order. Jack Smith mishandled the documents that he got in the raid. So he mishandled the very documents he accused President Trump of mishandling. They had to file that with the court. And of course, we know that one of his deputies was engaged in what I think you could probably call a bribe when he said to a defendant's counsel, yes, we didn't know you were a Trump guy. We thought you were interested in this judge position. You can't do those kind of things, but all those things Jack Smith and his team engaged in as part of Arctic Frost investigation, which then was merged with the special counsel's investigation.
So you noted one of the deputies. This investigation is going to expand into the other deputies as well. Yeah. What other information that you find on those deputies that is leading you to go forward with that?
Well, yeah, we did 4 subpoenas of 4 additional people who worked on Jack Smith's team. We've already deposed 3. Actually, one of them, Mr. Wyndham, we referred to the Justice Department for obstructing our investigation. And we don't do that often. The facts have to be there. It has to be warranted. In this case, it was. So we've already deposed 3 of them. We got 4 more.
Yeah, and I think we covered that. That is a good referral. That is a criminal referral from Congress to Pam. Now it's up to Pam to do something about it.
Some of these people we're going subpoenaing today were the ones involved in signing the subpoenas that went to members of Congress, for example. I mean, think about this, Lawrence. The Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, becomes Speaker of the House 10 days after he becomes the top Republican, second in line to the president. They subpoena his phone records for 2 years prior. They go away. They've been investigating for months and months and months. And they wait until he becomes Speaker of the House to go get his phone records from Election Day of 2020 until January 7th of 2020. They knew who the Speaker called, who called him, when the call took place, how long the call lasted. And if Kevin McCarthy initiated the call, they know where he was at when he did so. And they can pattern his entire life for those 2 months time frame. And he did that after he gets elected as the top Republican in our government. Again, I think underscoring that this was political, this was about going after the Republican Party, and most importantly, it was about going after our candidate for president, President Trump.
This is why they couldn't find the pipe bomber, because they were spending all their time on this nonsense investigating elected officials instead of getting the real criminals out there. Congressman, we're going to be following today. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, that could be why they didn't find the pipe bomber, or it's because they were the pipe bomber. That's why they didn't find the pipe bomber. So Jack Smith testified. Jim Jordan saying we've already talked to a couple other people. Thomas Wyndham, who was on the team, they referred him to for obstruction over to Pam Bondi. We'll see if the DOJ does anything about that or if they just kind of, worry about other things. But Jack and his testimony now on the books. So when those transcripts drop, we'll be here to go through them and read what exactly went down in Congress today as the illegitimate, not a real boy prosecutor, Jack Smith, seen here, has to explain himself and what he did to pervert justice as he attacked his political opponents for years. We'll keep our eye on this one, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, now one more update on the day, and we're back on trial day 3 with Judge Dugan. And so let's get this properly queued up down here from the bottom, and we'll start right here. Trial day 3, the backdoor judge charged with obstruction and concealing an illegal alien. And the chief judge of the entire building testified today. We'll see how that worked out for the backdoor judge Dugan. But we've got a background here courtesy of Fox 6 Now over there in Milwaukee. Of course, we know the Dugan judge has already pleaded not guilty to this. Court is back in session, 9:02 a.m., running a little late. Judge comes in. All rise. All right. Please be seated. All right, everybody. We're back on the record. It's day 3. Happy Wednesday. We're making good progress, jurors. So we're going to get this done. Just hang tight. Government, you're up. Call your first witness. Prosecutor stands up. All right. Good morning, Your Honor. We call Stephanie Garbo to the stand. She is an administrator for the Milwaukee County District Court. Okay, she runs the place. They bring her in. Stephanie, promise to tell the truth, all truth, and nothing but the truth. God, I do. Garbo was working at the courthouse on the day of the backdoor usage. Now, Garbo comes in and says, yeah, no, I was there. I was working. I run the courthouse, and I was there, and I got a call from the chief judge, Carl Ashley, who was also communicating with Dugan and the ICE agents, okay, the main judge of the whole building, and told her, Carl calls and says, hey, Stephanie, chief judge here, I think that ICE agents are coming to Dugan's court today. She said, well, that's interesting, chief judge. I noticed that there were 2 men sitting on a bench, and I think that they're ICE. But what do you want me to do about it? Now, the judge says, didn't ask her to interact with them or check to see if they had a warrant or bring them to the office or anything. Okay, so the chief judge knew about this before Doogie brought it to his attention. The administrator said that another judge, Cristela Cervera, okay, there were 2 judges that came out because Doogie went into Cristela's office and said, into her chambers, and said, I need your help. Come join us. Put your robe on. Come help. She said that that other judge and an agent later came back to the chief judge's office, and she arranged a call between the agent and Ashley, the chief judge. She said another agent was present but didn't participate on the call. Okay, so she's facilitating a conversation with the chief judge. We fast forward. Well, Stephanie, can you tell us what the chief judge was talking about? She says, yeah, well, primarily he was discussing a draft policy about ICE coming to the courthouse. Now, it's my understanding that the policy wasn't in effect yet. He said he was still drafting it. And so there was no interim policy. There was no policy. Now, did you talk to the judge about a warrant? And he says, yeah, Ashley asked me, the chief judge, to make a photocopy of it. So I emailed him a copy of the warrant. Stephanie, the administrator, said the chief judge and the ICE agents had a professional conversation about the arrest. They're just talking cordially, but she did not recall the specifics. She said the courthouse's public hallways were available for arrests. Okay, the court administrator. Yep, you can arrest people right there in the hall. Defense attorney for Judge Dugan comes up. All right, Stephanie. Now, you said that you couldn't recall about whether there was a discussion about whether a courtroom is a non-public space. Is that right? You don't recall? Is that non-public or public? I don't recall. Now, the government came back and redirected her, and they asked how long did the call last, and she answers. Now, attorney Keith Alexander looks like they got the chief judge now. Okay, so we kind of jump ahead. How long did the call last? Now the chief judge is up. Okay, so the chief judge comes out. Attorney Keith Alexander questioned the chief judge, Carl Ashley. Ashley, tell me about your role. Yeah, I'm the chief judge here in Milwaukee County. How long you been a judge? 26 years. So how long have you been the chief judge? Well, since April 2023, coming up on 3 years now. Ashley testified, the chief judge. What did you do? What do you do with ICE arrests? What's your, how do you handle this? Well, I emailed back on April 3rd. I emailed all the county judges in this county. In an email, I notified them that there was an ICE arrest that happened at the courthouse in March. And by the way, if Minneapolis doesn't want courthouse arrests, no problem. All they have to do, hold the illegal aliens in their jails. ICE can come pick them up. They won't have to come pick them up in the hallway. Pretty simple. They've committed allegedly a crime, and they're not here lawfully. So rather than releasing alleged criminals back into the street who are also illegal aliens, just hang on to them. It's not complicated. In that email, he notified them about an ICE arrest. He expressed uncertainty about how, if at all, the courts had authority to intervene in an arrest that was happening in the public hallway. Another judge worried about law enforcement. The chief judge testified. He said, do you think you have the authority to intervene with an ICE arrest as a judge? You're the chief judge. Can you do that? He says, no, I don't think we have any authority to do that. The chief judge also said he and others got guidance in response to his email on April 4th. They said, yeah, ICE can legally conduct enforcement in public areas. And there are statutory and policy limitations to such enforcement, like how you do it, but you can do it. Now, the chief judge also testified that Dugan replied to the email. He says, hey, this is what's happening, just so you know. Thanking the sender, Dugan responds, hi, thank you for the information. And thank you for a draft policy on how to handle immigration enforcement operations. So Dugan knew you're allowed to do it. You're allowed to make arrests. The chief judge even sent her an email to which she replied. She's going to be struggling here. So I know it's not a policy and we can conduct these arrests. Now she's going to have to try to get out of that. So the chief judge has asked another question. Did you ever send a draft policy? He says, yeah, I did on April 9th. The chief judge testified that, quote, system partners would have to vet the draft policy, including corporate counsel, sheriff's office, and others. He got input from ICE. He said, I conducted a Zoom meeting in which he said he believed that they were unable to control what happens in public hallways. He's like, no, I even had a full meeting about this. I said, they're public hallways. We have no authority there. He believes Dugan didn't go to that meeting, but he was hesitant to say that she was not in attendance. He's like, are you sure she was not there? He's like, she might have been. Now, at that point, the chief judge said the draft policy was just a draft. It's not official policy. However, the draft policy said employees would be responsible for notifying the administrator and the chief judge about ICE activity in the courthouse. So the future policy would say somebody can just notify that ICE is there, so that I guess they could obstruct. And notification is different than obstruction. Okay, they're here. Sit on your bench, let them do their work. Don't interfere. Don't obstruct them. Now, the draft policy that was also floating around, according to the chief judge's testimony, it said an ICE administrative warrant, not a judicial warrant, authorized them to conduct an arrest. Wow. But that such a warrant did not compel courthouse personnel to let ICE into non-public areas or to search certain records, which they were never even trying to get access to. Chief judge also said a judicial warrant, on the other hand, would grant them to a non-public space if necessary. The only person who got access to a non-public space was an illegal alien that the judge let use her back door. He still expressed concern that doing so could be disruptive to court activities if they're, mucking around in all of our files. Chief judge is testifying. He's back here, 9:40. Chief judge said, well, where were you on the day that this all went down? He said, I was at home and I was notified that ICE was at the courthouse. So I called the district court administrator, Stephanie. She was at the courthouse. I said, Stephanie, are there ICE agents there? So the administrator called the chief judge back. He said to say, ICE agents were there. Like, yeah, they're there. He said he was not expecting the call, but he was not surprised. He then spoke to an ICE agent who was in the chief judge's office. He's like, you're in my office, on speakerphone. What are you guys doing here? Like, we're arresting illegal aliens. Like, okay. Yeah. Okay. Ashley said he asked for a copy. Can I see your warrant? The agent said, sure, here you go. And the chief judge reviewed the warrant. It was an administrative warrant. Now, he was unsure how many people were in the room while the call was on speakerphone. The ICE agent asked for the call to take place in a more private area, and he agreed that would be okay. Now, Ashley, the chief judge, testified that his draft policy at that time had not yet been sent to ICE. The conversation with the agent then turned to that policy. He said, well, we're thinking about doing this policy. And he told the agent that he did not believe they could stop them from conducting an arrest in the public hallway. And why would you want to anyways? He described the conversation as amicable. Yeah, the agents are very nice, friendly people just doing their jobs before giant Duncan Dugan comes out and tries to Kool-Aid guy her way into the hallway to obstruct them. Now, Ashley said that it was his understanding, the chief judge, after speaking to an ICE agent, that the arrest would take place in the public hallway until the judge escaped him. The chief judge also said he then spoke to the courthouse safety supervisor who informed him the arrest did not take place as anticipated. Judge calls back, how'd that arrest go? Well, one of your judges just committed multiple crimes. Ashley, the chief judge, he gets the phone call. No, another judge escaped him out her back door, and the FBI ICE agents had to go tackle him in the middle of the rain on the streets. Chief judge goes, what? The judge said he then texted Dugan a few times. He's like, hey, Call me, please. He received a response hours later because she was freaked. She's like, I'm in trouble. Probably calling lawyers herself. He ultimately decided to table any conversation because he was concerned about what might have happened. He's like, I can't ask her. I don't want her to make a statement to me. Okay, now they're all in cover-up mode. I'm going to table the conversation. No. You don't want to talk about it because you know that you're about to take the stand in a criminal trial. They all knew it. They're like, oh, crap. Please call. Actually, don't call because you're probably going to be charged. So here, Ashley, the chief judge, then sent an email on the afternoon of April 18th, notifying colleagues that ICE conducted an arrest. He explained what happened, noted ICE's actions were consistent with our draft policy. So even the policy that's not in effect yet, they still complied. Now, the chief judge said that Dugan replied to that email the following Monday and clarified that ICE did not present a warrant in the hallway. She's like, they didn't show me anything. So I just thought, I went out there and with my robe and brought a friend with me because I don't like to go to the bathroom alone and brought him out there and then obstructed the whole thing. So now the chief judge is still on the stand. And this is the second judge from this. This is crazy. We've got judges as witnesses testifying basically against another judge. Defense attorney Stephen Biskupic, who is representing Dugan, stands up, cross-examines the chief judge. And says, all right, chief judge, before we get started here, I have some binders here I'd like you to take a look at. Wants to distribute these to you and to the jurors because there are a bunch of exhibits in this binder that we're going to walk through one at a time. Chief judge testifies. Do you recognize what's in this binder? He opens it up. Yeah, I think this one here looks like an April 6 email that I sent. It's a printout of it. And inside, there's a press release about ICE draining people at the courthouse complex. Draining people? What? In that press release, he wrote that ICE agents conducting arrests there posed significant concerns about the integrity and the impartiality of the judicial system. What about the integrity and the impartiality of the nation? Ever have a thought about that? Maybe if these illegal aliens weren't in our country, then they wouldn't be charged as defendants, and you'd have one less case where some illegal beat the hell and strangled the other victims who were in the courtroom. Think about that for a second. Your caseload would be much lighter, but they don't care. They just care about illegals, even if they beat Americans or kill them and throw their bodies over bridges. Now, defense attorney Biskupic was cross-examining him and said, Ashley's email said ICE's presence could have a chilling effect on access to justice. Cause people to perceive courthouses as unsafe due to fear of detention. Yeah, well, they should be detained. So it's a reasonable fear. Don't commit crimes. Don't come into our country illegally. You can't just commit crimes in an illegal status and then think that you're like untouchable. Are you kidding? It could lead to confusion over legal protections. These are all just stupid platitudes that liberals like to say when they don't want to actually achieve anything. You just talk about all these stupid platitudes that are meaningless. Confusion over legal protections. What is his legal protection? If he gets picked up by ICE, he can file a petition for a writ of habeas corpus. He can, if he's got immigration proceedings, he can challenge that. He'll have plenty of due process there. But you guys released him. And said courts must remain free from the threats of immigration enforcement, says this judge. They're all obstructionists, all of them, just to be clear. And these, I understand it. Like you want people, if somebody's charged with a crime, you want them to show up to court because you don't want them to flee and go on warrant status. But they're already here illegally. They're already in a status of violation of the law. If they don't come to court because they got charged with a crime, then they're going to be on a warrant status, which is very similar to being in an illegal status. Both statuses are not lawful. So rather than you, the court, having to, twist yourself into giving them, due process for this proceeding, we can just focus on this proceeding and spare you all of the trouble. But they don't want to do that. They'd rather just let illegals go because in many ways they get money, they get appropriations, they get votes, they get accolades. They're not called racist. They get to go to their cocktail clubs with all of the other judges who are all upset about ICE arresting people. These are not judges, they're obstructionists and really insurrectionists who are insurrecting the federal government. So the chief judge was provided a copy of his draft policy. He testified that it included language for court employees to use if ICE attempted to enter an area, a non-public area. This judge, he says, if they try to enter here, which they never did, the only person who used non-public area was the judge. He says, say this, stand in your power, puff your chest up and tell these ICE bigots, I do not consent. But because I have no other choice at this time, I will not interfere with your order. And then all of these judges just practice this in the mirrors every morning. I do not consent to the government arresting an illegal alien. Go get a different job. This is law enforcement. Ashley said that he got that quote from a similar policy in San Francisco. He also said that the San Francisco County policy explicitly stated that ICE could conduct operation in public areas, but he removed that statement when drafting his own policy. They're all part and parcel, all peas in a pod. Ashley, the chief judge, said, like, disgusting people. Ashley said his press release about ICE in the courthouse from April 6 expressed concerns that he took seriously. He said his disagreement with federal policy or law would not give him authority to interfere with this. He said that he did not tell ICE that they could not conduct an arrest in a public hallway. This is not really good testimony for Dugan. Not sure why the defense attorney is spending so much time on it. Oh, here's Carl Ashley. There you go. All right, so Chief Judge Carl Ashley, he takes the stand and definitely doesn't want to be a bigot, obviously. So the court called Melissa Buss, government. Melissa Buss. Chief Judge gets off the stand after saying he's basically an obstructionist, just like the rest of them, in spirit. Didn't actually go so far to cross the line in practice, but in spirit, he's like, I hate that. I have to do this. A Milwaukee County assistant DA was assigned to this court. Amazing. Okay, so now the prosecutor who was in the courtroom on the day that the judge let the illegal user backdoor, Attorney Kelly Brown Watzka from the government, questioned Melissa. Melissa testified, you're prosecuting here, and tell us what happened on April 18th. Well, yeah, the calendar for Dugan's courtroom on April 18th included this illegal's case, Flores Ruiz, Eduardo. He was scheduled for a pretrial conference at 8:30 a.m. And we've talked about this before, but oftentimes, and I'm not licensed in Minnesota, but in Arizona, what they'll do is they'll schedule a couple dozen cases at 8:30. People will think like, well, mine's at 8:30, mine's at like 9:15, mine's at 9:45, mine's at 10:15. Some courts will do that, but a lot of courts don't. They just will bundle everything up, and then an attorney who's ready will call your case. Okay, everybody's there at 8:30. You kind of get in line, talk to the prosecutor, meet your client. Sometimes your client's late. As long as you get everything done in before the break at lunch, like 11:30, the courts will generally close. Have a lunch break, come back for the afternoon docket at 1:30 p.m., whatever. So it's kind of like bedlam. It's kind of like madness if you've ever been in there. You really don't know. Like the court's calling a bunch of other cases. So if you're there at 8:30, it doesn't mean your case is getting called at 8:30. It's kind of like everybody's waiting around for their case to be called. The reason I'm explaining this is because the prosecutor is in that kind of madness. So may not even know that a case has been continued under his nose because there's like 50 other cases going on that morning, or in this case, Melissa's nose, and has no idea because it's not called on the record. And as a defense attorney, you'll often, you'll get prepared for your case. You'll say, okay, my client's going to take a plea. We're going to go do a change of plea. Tell the prosecutor, hey, we got your new plea offer. He'll take it. So just want to let you know, we'll do a change of plea. Change of pleas can take a long time. So sometimes you wait until other lawyers come in and get their continuances out of the way. But you tell the prosecutor so that he knows, then you call your case. Your Honor, number 57, call it. Everybody's aboard and aware of what's happening. That's not what happened here. So this person is prosecuting. She's an assistant DA. She's prosecuting the illegal alien. He's scheduled to show up at 8:30. And while she's prosecuting, the victim's advocate comes through and says, hey, prosecutor, guess what? The defendant's victims, who the prosecution is kind of representing to get justice for the victims, they're here. The victim's advocate comes in and says the defendant who strangled them is here, and the people who got strangled are here. Now, the prosecutor said when the victims are present, she prefers for cases to be called on the record, okay? Because the victims are there for that reason. You don't want to do sneaky stuff behind everybody's back. Prosecutors want to do a good job for the victims in the courtroom. Standard operating procedure, and the victims want to see justice done. Happens every day. Now, Bus, the prosecutor, testified. So you were in the courtroom. Tell us what you heard. Well, I heard somebody tell somebody else that ICE was present at the courthouse. Who said that? Well, I think the clerk mentioned it, and then I saw the judge, Dugan, react to that. Soon as I heard that, Dugan got up and went into her chambers. Prosecutor's like, whoa, what's going on? Probably in that courtroom a lot, and knows, the prosecutors and the judges develop relationships because they're there all day. So Bus said that she later saw Doogie, who was off the bench, motion for Flores, the illegal, and his attorney to come forward toward the jury door. Dang! Getting ripped by the prosecutor. The prosecutor's like, no, I watched her. She's like, hey, come here, illegals, come here. And your defense attorney, come on over here. And they went through the jury door, which is typically closed. She said the jury door from the courtroom leads to Dugan's chamber and a hallway. She also said the hallway leads to another door and a stairwell, and that's how you escape. And they said, wow, that's interesting. Have you ever seen that before? She's like, no. Probably. Now, Bus, the prosecutor, said that Dugan is the person who decides which cases to call and when. Okay, so their court's a little different. In Arizona, sometimes some judges will just say, look at the calendar. When you're ready, call your number. And attorneys are just kind of standing around waiting. Are you ready? Can I go? Can I go? Can I? Yeah, 57, whatever. Other judges don't want to do it that way. So she said that the judge would normally decide what she wants to call. Are we ready on the matter, this matter, that matter? Now, did she call this case, prosecutor? No, I don't recall Judge Doogie calling Flores Ruiz's case at all, and later informed that it was called off the record. That is so scandalous. The victims are in the courtroom. It's sick that she did that to them. I'm saying that as a defense attorney. I've been in the courtroom representing defendants with victims that are there. And you're just like, all right, they're there. Like the prosecutor's got to handle them. So Bus said that she was surprised and never learned when the next court date would be. So basically handled the proceeding, took it away from the prosecution. We call this ex parte, when one side is not involved in the matter at all. Completely inappropriate. So she was not able to inform the victims about the status of the case. So in other words, just to be clear, Judge Dugan cares more about an illegal alien, I think a domestic violence abuser who strangled people, than the victims who are in the courtroom. She let them escape and ignored the victims. That's the mindset that we're dealing with here. She's a judge who's supposed to be upholding justice. Now, the defense attorney called Jason, she's got like 4 of them, requested a morning break because he had to pee. And the judge excused the jury for 10 minutes. They take a break and we're back. Prosecutor still on the stand. Madam Prosecutor, can you describe the layout of the courtroom and tell us about the day? She says, yeah, it was busy, but I didn't hear anything in the courtroom about the case being called, which is a strange thing. Okay, you have to get your case called. Otherwise, you have the potential that you don't call your case and the court thinks that you missed your case and you get a warrant for failure to appear, for not showing up. It's like the worst thing that can happen is if you miss a court date. Now your client is in a warrant status. Now their license is suspended. Now your client's driving around like, oh, my lawyer's handling everything. Boom, they get pulled over. Their car gets impounded because their license is suspended because you have a crappy lawyer. So you don't let that happen. Like I got to call your case. Make sure your case gets handled that day. Get a new date. You're always looking for the next date. Prosecutor's like, I didn't hear anything. The defense played audio and a recording of Dugan calling the case, which she spoke into the microphone. Wow. So Dugan, she agreed if the judge spoke into the microphone, it would come through the speakers in the courtroom, but I didn't hear anything. So apparently the judge is like, okay, we're calling this case Edward Flores and a motion continue granted, and we're going to come back in 30 days. On the record, it sounds like, which is interesting. That's a new fact. Now, Bus testified, the prosecutor, where and the prosecutor didn't hear it, but apparently they have a recording of Dugan saying something on the record. Again, I don't think that changes the equation here. Even if Dugan called the case on the record, she's still obstructed by allowing him to escape out the back door. the fact that she would kind of do it secretly just adds, I think, more flavor to her intent, which is already very well established. But the defense is now cross-examining her. Madam Prosecutor, can you tell us how you prepped for this hearing? She says, yeah, I sent an email on April 17th, the day before the hearing. And I actually sent an offer letter from the state to the defense attorney, right? A plea deal. If he wants to take this plea deal, we can resolve it at the next setting tomorrow. Happens all the time. The offer included language for, oh my gosh, for a deferred prosecution agreement. What a joke, which means he would have no conviction at all, which is handled on a case-by-case basis, but could lead to lesser charges of dismissal or a dismissal. So deferred prosecution generally means you have an active prosecution case. We're going to pause it, put it on the calendar for a deferred date, let's say 6 months, 9 months, a year from now. We'll calendar this, but the prosecution will just move the case to basically an inactive status, a deferred status. And they'll tell you have to do something. So maybe in this case, maybe it's domestic violence. Maybe he has to go take anger management classes or community service or something, pay a fine, maybe serve a day in jail or whatever. And if he does that, then the charges would ultimately be dismissed. Okay, they'd be deferred, postponed, and if he is successful and completes what he's supposed to do, case goes by. If he doesn't, they just reactivate the prosecution and turn it back into an active status and pick it back up. And of course, he would sign a document agreeing to waiving of time and all those things. So they gave him a sweetheart smoking deal. Now he's been deported, thankfully, so he's gone. So they were going to let this human beater of an illegal alien basically get away with nothing on top of it. The whole county's just a dump. So here, Buss agrees that judges have power to conduct what happens in their courtroom, including where people exit from the courtroom. So they say, well, can't the judge use whatever door she wants? Well, yeah, they control their courts. And yeah, people can exit whatever door she says they can exit from. But is that exiting obstruction? That's the question. Yeah, people come in and out of the doors all the time. Are they wanted by ICE? Do they take off running down the street to flee capture and have to be tackled by FBI agents? That's kind of the key point. But the defense is saying, yeah, no, I mean, she can take people out that door if she wants to. Then we get a redirect. So prosecutors are back. They ask the other prosecutor on the stand. They said, were you joking about something? She says, yeah, I mean, I was joking about not looking at her calendar as it related to when a case was scheduled, which was brought up during the defense's cross-examination. The government said the case being joked about had been mistakenly calendared for April 19th, a Saturday, when she would not typically look at her calendar. Okay, so like, well, wasn't this scheduled for a Saturday? She's like, yeah, like I'm going to work on a Saturday kind of a thing. Like, no. So some clerk just miscalendar it, whatever. We were joking about that. That's all. Okay, so that's all that was? That's all that was. All right, so here is her, Melissa Buss, prosecutor, out there, just handing out deferred prosecution plea deals to illegal alien beaters. And they call another person. All right, prosecution calls Alan Free to the stand, Judge. Alan, can you tell us about your background? He says, yeah, sure. I'm a deputy clerk of the court of Milwaukee County. And I was in Doogie's courtroom. I was there on April 18th when this whole thing went down. Oh, so you're in her courtroom regularly? Yeah. And where do you sit? I sit to the right of the judge when she's on the bench, including providing dockets and information. So a deputy clerk, he's like handing her the folders and the files and the things on the stand. Now tell us what happened when you learned that ICE was in the building. He said, well, I was there doing my job, and one or more state public defenders mentioned ICE was at the courthouse before court was called for the day. He said he was upset and he was a little bit outraged. They all love illegals. This whole place just needs to be deported. Everybody in the building should just be deported. He then walked into the public hallway. I was upset, outraged. ICE agents are here? What is wrong with these people? Why do they love illegal aliens so much? How have they been so brainwashed into this disaster? The deputy clerk said he saw agents in the hallway and went back into the courtroom. Now, he did not recall if an interpreter was there for Flores Ruiz, but said if an interpreter was there, he would have asked who the interpreter was there for. Okay. The government then played some audio for Dugan's courtroom on April 18th. In the recording, this clerk, Freed, said he recognized voices and he advised Dugan that there were ICE guys in the hallway. They're here. He testified that he did not call the chief judge because Dugan instructed him not to. Dugan says, I'll handle this. He said Dugan then went through the door to her chambers. The clerk said he then heard from an attorney in the courtroom that Dugan was in the hallway confronting people. Like, everybody's like, where's the judge? Someone's like, she's outside talking to them. Wow. And he vaguely recalled poking his head out to see what's going on. He's like, wow, that's amazing. She's a hero. I'm outraged. Let me go watch. He pops his head out. Freed was then shown surveillance video from the courthouse's public hallway. He recalled Dugan and a man walking past him, and he said he called the man a fascist. Does he want to shoot him in the neck? The deputy clerk said he went back into the courtroom. Okay. Denaturalize, deport, and defund. All federal money from this county should be cut off. Says the whole court is set up to protect illegal aliens against ICE. The government played portion of the audio that was recorded in Dugan's courtroom. After hearing the audio, this clerk testified that he believed Dugan called the Flores-Ruiz case right away and later told his attorney to get a court date off the record. Okay, so she may have called it. Let's see. The clerk said Dugan asked Flores if an interpreter was needed. And it can take anywhere from a few minutes to an hour to get an interpreter to come over. Guy can't even speak English, just invades our country, starts beating people, then has judges helping him escape any liability while prosecutors are offering him deferred prosecutions. He said a case with an interpreter is normally called on the record unless an attorney waives that because, you want to make sure you're clear. The deputy clerk said he heard someone from Dugan's direction tell Flores Ruiz's attorney, so this guy's being coy now, like a coward, and said, I don't know, was it Dugan? Well, I don't know, but it was somebody in her direction. Was there anybody behind her? No. Said that he told the defense attorney for the illegal alien to leave the courtroom and to come back. He said, I could not recall if I ever heard the judge tell an attorney to leave and come back with a client. Does this happen regularly? Does she tell defense attorneys to just kind of help obstruct? I don't think so. I can't recall. He added that off-the-record cases are typically heard very quickly. He said that the Flores-Ruiz off-the-record case was quicker than most. Boom. Man, she's in trouble. Her own people are saying she was acting anomalously, not following standard operating procedure because she was in the middle of committing crimes. So off-the-record case. So the defense is seemingly trying to make this as though this was called on the record because she whispered something into the microphone. It's recorded somewhere. Nobody heard it. Prosecutor didn't hear it. Victims didn't hear it. Clerk is saying this is strange. And he's confirming that it was off the record, again, because she's being sneaky and criminal. So the government, the prosecutors, then played some more audio from the courtroom from April 18th. It recorded a conversation between Doogie, the judge, and the illegals defense attorney, in which Dugan mentioned down the stairs. Yeah, just come back out my back door and you can go down the stairs. The clerk who sits next to the judge said he heard another court employee offer to show them. He said he heard Dugan say, I'll do it. I'll get the heat. Oh, and the other employee said she'd rather get in trouble. Okay, so you've got all these illegal alien loving virtue signalers that are like, no, I'm going to stand up against fascism. No, I'm going to do it. I'm Batman. Like, no, none of you are Batman. You're all like a joke who will sell out your country for beating illegal aliens who beat people. So I'll do it. I'll get the heat. That's about as bad of an admission as you can get out of a judge. And they played some audio saying, we'll just send you down the stairs so you can escape. This is getting bad for her. Now, here we see Freed did not initially recall even seeing Dugan, the clerk, Flores Ruiz, or his attorneys at the jury door. Did you see them use the door? I don't think so. Well, let me show you some surveillance video that he said showed all three of those people at the jury door. Let me show you this. He's like, well, yeah, I mean, I've seen thousands of cases, and it was the only time he recalled seeing a criminal defendant. Okay, criminal defense attorneys can go through those doors all the time, and I have. He said only a judge can give a criminal defendant permission to go through that door. Yeah, the defendants don't go back there. They don't even cross the bar in the courtroom until their case is called. You don't just waltz out the back door. So the clerk even said that. I've seen thousands of cases. This is the only one time this has happened. Freed testified that the door led to a hallway that leads to a public stairwell. He said that door connects to the public hallway. Access was restricted from the other side. You cannot use that door to get in. He continues. He said there was no interpreter present in person, even though they needed one. He said they usually call cases with an interpreter first to free up the interpreter's time to get to the other courts, and acknowledged that this case was called ahead of someone else's when it was known that ICE was in the public hallway. The clerk also added that another court employee said that ICE agents may be on other floors of the courthouse. It's like red alert. They're all scrambling. Freed testified that if victims were present for a case, which they were, and the case was called off the record, the court would typically alert the assistant DA about a new date. Okay, so if she's just going to handle this without the government prosecutors even being involved, you'd at least give them a new date, right? Yeah, of course. So he says, well, it is permissible to call a case with victims off the record. We can do that. He said that on the morning of April 18th, Dugan heard 9 defendants' cases off the record. Were the victims for those cases also seated in the courtroom? And that can happen, by the way. It does happen regularly. In fact, oftentimes people will try to just handle this by motion. Okay, like let's say they sent that email on April 17th. What if the lawyer said, the defense attorney responded and said, I'm going to need 30 days to talk to my client about this new plea deal. I think he'll take it. It's a really good deal. It's deferred prosecution. But let me set a meeting with him. Let's come back in 30 days. We'll have an answer for you. Generally, the prosecutor will say, yeah, no problem. I just sent you the plea deal like 5 minutes ago. Yeah, take your time. We'll put in a continuance together. Do you want to file that or would you like me to file that? I'll file that. No problem. And you'll agree. And you just put it in there. Hey, defense attorney, judge, defense attorney requests a 30-day continuance. We just got the plea deal from the prosecutor. Need time to review the matter with our client. Respectfully request 2 weeks to 30 days. Judge comes back, signs the motion. The case gets moved. And the court proceeding never happens. Like that happens a lot. But once the case is in the courtroom and the victims are there and the defendant is there and the prosecution is there and the defense attorney, we're all there, to then sneakily do that is undermining the victims. And if it's not, it's not illegal, but it's unethical. It's like disgusting behavior to be doing that. And he says he knew that there was an administrative warrant, but he didn't know it was going to be to arrest this guy until after his case was called. So then that's on cross-examination. There's a redirect. Richard Frawling for the government comes out. And Freed said that he recalled testifying to a grand jury about a conversation with Dugan about an administrative warrant. And they say, well, you sounded confused on this part, but when we were asking you questions at the grand jury proceedings, you said this. Do you remember? He says, yeah, I do remember that. So they clean that up a little bit. That is Dugan's clerk. We break for lunch, 11:56. We eat a delicious salad because we're watching our figure and we're back. It's 12:45. The government calls, Your Honor, Brittany Ewing to the stand. Brittany, you promised to tell the truth? Yes, I do. Will you tell us what your role is with the Milwaukee County District's Attorney's Office? She says, yeah, I'm a victim witness advocate. I represent the victims, the people who allegedly got beaten in the courtroom. Now, Ewing was there. She said, I was asked to cover a case in Dugan's courtroom on that date. She said, I was there to meet with the victims in the illegals case, and she met with the victims before court that day. She said one of the victims spoke English and translated on behalf of the group. She relayed to them what they could expect when the case was called and walked them through what was going to happen that didn't happen. And that was that. Let's continue on. Let's hit a refresh because we're not even close to done yet. And here we go. All right, so let's scroll back down. And here we go. Brittany Ewing. Continuing on. Now, she said one of the victims spoke English, and when Flores arrived in court that day, Ewing said the victims were uncomfortable. Yeah, because he just beat the heck out of them not long ago. That's why they're there. Okay, these people are very freaked out. They just got attacked by somebody. They're there to make sure justice is done. Even when I was representing criminal defendants who did the beating, I still had feelings for those. I'm like, all right, this sucks kind of for you guys, but we got to do our job, right? And everybody's got it. That's how the system works. But it still sucks. It still sucks. And I've got some stories of like some dismissals because the prosecution screwed up. And you're like, man, that sucks. But anyways, they're there. Victims appeared uncomfortable, as they should be, because the person who attacked them is in the courtroom. Now, Ewing, the victim's advocate, testified that Flores Ruiz had been walking in and out that morning. He's coming in and out of the courtroom, like we're watching him. They're all freaked. But she eventually saw him and his attorney walk through the jury door. She said Dugan was standing right there, like inviting them through. Now, Ewing, the victim's advocate, said she did not know what was going on when she saw the defendant illegal go through the door. She had never seen a defendant go through the door. She still expected the case to be called because that's what happens. Now, she also testified. She asked another court employee, she said, what the hell's going on over here? Where is everybody? I got other victims to help. And the court employee told her that the Flores Ruiz case was adjourned. You're not on the calendar anymore. She said, what? I'm sitting here with the victims. I just told them we're going to have their case called. She explained that to the victims, her understanding of what happened, and the victims appeared upset and confused, okay? This judge hurt the victims to help an illegal alien who beat the victims escape. And the rest of the courthouse was on Team Dugan. Chief Judge, her little BFF, Christella, her clerk, I'm out, you're a fascist. They're all in on it. Now, Ewing also testified she was checking a system while in court to see if any off-the-record updates had been updated. She's like, when's the new date? What the hell's going on here? Victims are upset. She's upset because she just gave them their word. Now we call another person. So she's off the stand. And we get another person up. Amazing. Your Honor, the government calls Mercedes de la Rosa to testify. Mercedes, can you tell us what you do? Yeah, I work at the state public defender's office and I represent clients who can't afford a lawyer. And our country is so ridiculous that we pay for lawyers for the illegals who beat our citizens. So we're like, yeah, here, you can have a lawyer too. And they get appointed an attorney because Milwaukee and Minnesota will not hold the illegals. So the citizens of this county have to come out of pocket to pay for lawyers for obstructing illegal aliens. Whereas if ICE would just hold them and deport them, problem solved. Don't even have to worry about public defenders. So here's more. Now, the defense attorney for the illegal alien takes the stands. She testified that a fellow public defender alerted her, ICE is here on the 6th floor of the courthouse. All the public defenders like, oh crap, all of our illegal alien clients are in trouble. So they're on high alert. And it's much more their role, by the way. Like they're the defenders. So if they want to, they can't obstruct, obviously, ICE, but if they put up a fight, that's their fight. That's their clients. That's their job. It's not the judge's job, not Doogie's job, not court clerk, freak show, whatever his name was, not the chief judge, Carl, who's upset about this. They are supposed to be neutral arbiters, not involved in this, and they all were. But public defender says here, we were alerted that ICE was here. She said because she knew her client spoke Spanish, they can't even speak English when they break in here. She was concerned about the situation. She found Flores, the illegal, and they went into Dugan's courtroom, but Dugan was not there. When the defendant and his lawyer came in, she said another attorney was seated at the defense table, okay? He's getting ready to have his case called. It's his turn. So De La Rosa recalled Dugan asking at one point, looks at the defense attorney who's there, says, which client is it, right? I look at the calendar, 54, Your Honor. She testified that Dugan asked her, the lawyer, to go to the defense table, and she moved the other attorney out of the way. All right, we're not calling your case. We're calling this one, so you move. He's like, what? Okay. And so he moves. Then the other person, she comes in, De La Rosa. She said and testified that she knew that Flores needed an interpreter. Okay. Do you remember if you asked or agreed to waive an interpreter? Like, did that come up? I don't remember. Now, she also said that she heard Dugan ask to take her client out and come back for a later court date. And the defense attorney, of course, is backing this up. She says, well, handling things like that off the record is not unusual at all. We do it all the time. not when the victims are in the courtroom. She knows that. De La Rosa acknowledged hearing a comment about down the stairs. Did you hear them say that they were going to take him down the stairs? When prosecutors played an audio. But she said, I mean, I heard it now, but I don't remember hearing that on April 18th. And Dugan gestured her. She said that, yep, did Dugan tell you to follow her? She said, yeah, she gestured me to come to a side door inside the courtroom next to the jury box. She said that the illegal was following him around. She did not remember if Dugan opened the door. Who opened the door to allow, like, I got the door for you, Mr. Illegal. Have a nice flight. Here, so she's testifying now, and it continues. Defense attorney continues saying she walked through the jury door of Dugan's courtroom into a hallway. She said she had never been in that area before. The public defender, De La Rosa, also said Dugan gestured for her to go to the end of the hallway, saying she thought the hallway led to a public hallway, but she felt scared. She felt freaked out, and the situation felt unusual. Yeah, because you're committing a crime. She said Dugan stayed with them for a few steps, but not all the way down the hallway. She said she did not know there was a door in that hallway that led to a staircase, and they took a door that led them into the public hallway. She's like, okay, if a judge is telling me to do it. Now, De La Rosa, the defense attorney, also testified that she and the illegal left the 6th floor of the courthouse and went outside, and then federal agents arrested her client. She said that Flores ran when the agents said his name. FBI, gone. She said she did not hear the agents identify themselves as law enforcement. She did not tell her client to run. She also said nobody told her there was a warrant to arrest her client, but she knew ICE was there. She said she acted obnoxious in court because she did not see an interpreter, which can take hours to get, and she wanted Flores in and out as quickly as possible. So she's like throwing a temper tantrum, also hates ICE. And she's a public defender and a defense attorney, so okay, that's her prerogative. Now, she explains she was not told to go down any stairs. Nobody communicated to her that there were stairs. And when working at another county, she said a judge allowed the defense to go through a private area to avoid disruption. The defense, like the attorney, and not when ICE agents are there to try to arrest them. So her lawyer is on the stand, or the illegal's lawyer is on the stand. She continues. She says, well, as a younger attorney, I took the interaction with Dugan in the private hallway as a mentoring moment. She said their interaction was similar to other mentoring moments in her career where they're committing crimes, which she said involved the judge pulling her aside into the private area. The public defender said she did not see any agents, but later learned there were federal agents there. And she has spoken with the FBI a number of times since this happened, probably because they were wondering if she was a co-conspirator. Now, based on the audio, she said things seemed fairly normal in the courtroom on that day. And so here is Mercedes De La Rosa, representing the illegal, testifying in court. We're now in the afternoon, 1:41 p.m. Government calls attorney Walter Peel to testify. Mr. Peel, can you tell us about your life? He says, yeah, I'm a private practice criminal defense attorney, and I was in the judge's courtroom. I had my own client there on that day on April 18th. This attorney estimated, how many times have you been in this courtroom? He's like, I don't know, 50 times. On April 18th, he said, well, I wanted my case to get called first because I had another case in Dane County later that morning. Private defense attorneys, sometimes I would be in 5 courtrooms a day, all over the valley. Hit 2 in the morning docket, 3 in the afternoon docket, especially if they're close. So he's like, I got to get my case called early. He's got to be somewhere else by 9:30 or an 8:30 docket somewhere else across town. So he said, well, I was there. I was there early. I was at the table. I was going to call my case. What happened? Well, Dugan addressed me and she said she would call the case first. Like I was there. I said, Your Honor, I'm here early. Can we just knock this out? I got to bounce. She's like, yeah, no problem. He recalled Dugan, then later came in from the area behind him. He thought from the public hallway. Crazy. So he's sitting there. The judge comes walking in this way. What? Comes in the front. All rise. Like all rise. All right. It's like very, formal. Judge just comes waltzing in out of the hallway. He thought the public hallway and asked him to step back. She comes in. She's wearing her robe. I can't call your case. I got to help this illegal alien. You're going to have to stand aside. You're not important. The attorney said he remembered then hearing someone else's name called out, and he stepped aside with his client and sat down. He's like, this is ridiculous. The attorney continues. Prosecutors, the government then played audio from the courtroom. in which she asked the illegal's lawyer to take her client out and come back in for a new date when your next court date is. And by the way, she also scheduled that court date as a virtual telephonic hearing, so he didn't even have to come back to court. That's what a scammer she is. So this defense attorney, he says, Peels, the lawyer, said Dugan had never asked him to get a client out and come back to get a date. Has this ever happened before? No, I've never seen that. I've been in here 50 times. He testified that he saw Dugan standing by the jury door in her courtroom, saw a man and a woman walk toward her. He said he heard Dugan telling someone, come. She said the woman told him she was sorry. The woman was later identified as Mercedes. When Dugan called his case, he testified that Dugan asked if there were victims in the case. He said that's very typical for a judge to ask. Okay, so he gets asked that on the record, calls the case. Are there victims here? Court acknowledges the victims. Victims advocate is here. Prosecutor is here. Okay, here's what is happening with the case, because everybody has rights. Even the victims have rights to know what's going on. It's in the Bill of Rights that they have in many state constitutions or statutes. That ever happened before? It happens all the time. They ask for victims, but they did not ask for the victims who were there for the illegal. Now, he testified, he said, in my 31 years as a lawyer, I have never seen a criminal defendant brought through the jury door. 31 years. A lot more than I got. Into a restricted hallway. He did say he himself had been in such an area. Yeah, it's normal for lawyers to go there. Peel said he had seen a number of courthouse arrests in his career. It's all normal. Seems like a reasonable dude. He says he also testified he's handled thousands of cases. He'd gone with a client into a judge's chambers a number of times. He said there are times when multiple attorneys are trying to have their case heard first or early, right? It's kind of like madness. And it does not always pan out. He said he tried to be the first on her court docket that date, but he was not. And he was then late to another case. He's pissed at her. Good. Now, he says he did not feel anything unusual happened in the courtroom, but he was frustrated that his case was not called first. It is. They get really mad about that, especially when you get there early. She's like, I'm sorry, Walter. We have to help an illegal alien. You go sit over there. He's like, okay. After the government called a witness, the defense asked for another break so they could address an issue. The jury was excused for about 10 minutes, and we're back. Government calls another witness, Joan Butts. Miss Butts, what is your role? She says, I am a court reporter. We love our court reporters here. They're amazing. And she is the official reporter for Doogie. She was there working that day. She said part of our routine is looking at the case calendar each day. She keeps a copy for herself and marks it with notes. Somebody calls their case, check it off. She crossed out Flores's case, meaning it ended up not being called. The court reporter says they didn't call the case on the record. Wow. Butts testified it makes a difference for her work whether a case is called on the record versus off the record. Other people were saying, I thought she whispered something into the mic. Court reporter didn't hear it. Never heard them call it. So she continues. She testified that a deputy clerk of the court alerted her ICE is in the hallway. She said that pisses her off. Denaturalize and deport and defund. All of them. She remembered the clerk also telling Dugan that ICE was in the hallway, but said she later realized that Dugan was no longer in the courtroom. She said Dugan eventually entered the courtroom through the public door wearing her judicial robe. And these people all sound like they're just part of kind of like a high school clique, like anti-ICE, you know, like they're just part of this mind virus that exists in our country. So the government then played audio of Dugan's courtroom. In the recording, Dugan talks to the defense attorney for the illegal. The court reporter, she testifies. She says, well, I did hear that. I did hear Dugan direct the attorney to take her client out and come back to get a date. She said that she has never heard Dugan direct an attorney to do that ever before. Jury's just like, wow, this is getting pretty rough, unless the jurors are filled with illegals. But here is what else we got. Now, the court reporter said Dugan whispered a conversation to her and she whispered back. So it didn't get written down or recorded. She said the conversation involved a discussion of the stairs and Dugan brought it up. But the reporter, she testified, she said, Why I asked Dugan if she needed to show a woman who she later learned to be the defense attorneys where to go to find the stairs. And the reporter said, because she was a newer attorney, there was a concern the attorney would not know what door to go through when she was escaping. She said the wrong door was the door that led into the public hallway, and the door to the stairs would be the right door in this instance. And she says, we were worried that they wouldn't escape appropriately. So the illegal and her lawyer, we were concerned they were going to go out the wrong door. She testified that if the attorney and her client did go out the wrong door, they're going to run into ICE. Oh no, you'll be in the hallway. They're right there like, aha. She testified that there was concern between her and Doogie, she's a co-conspirator, that they could get in trouble if they went out the wrong door. Dugan led Flores and his attorney down the hallway. According to her testimony, she said she did not see which door they went through though. Okay. So she's in on it too. The whole freaking court. Then they cross-examine her. But the reporter testified about her calendar for court work, which noted Good Friday. She said Dugan went to mass at noon that day. Well, she should repent for her sins. On redirect, Butts clarified a remark about down the hall versus the stairs and says, yeah. So here is Butts. She's less appreciated as a court reporter than the others, but looks like the government rests. Wow. So at 2:43, the government rests its case. Wow. They're going to call 4 witnesses tomorrow on Thursday. Doogie is not going to testify. The judge, Lynn, said, we're making good progress and you're going to get this case before too long there, jurors. We expect to hear closing arguments tomorrow, Thursday afternoon. And the case is adjourned until tomorrow. So we'll be back tomorrow with more updates. I can't believe how disgusting this entire court building is. Like, does anybody care about the law? No, they're all disgusted. ICE is here to arrest illegals. So they rigged the whole system. And now they're all like, well, I don't know. I don't know what happened exactly. You all were in on it. And I don't know how to reform an entire courthouse in a city that's infested with illegals, but maybe we can start with federal defunding of the entire state would be a good place to start. So all that happened. Here was Dugan coming in and out of the courtroom. I don't think this testimony was good for her. She's got multiple judges in her own building saying that this was kind of unorthodox. Defense attorneys saying strange, victims advocates saying strange, never seen anything like that. On the record, off the record, court reporter says they never called the case. So she knows what she did. And the most damning admission here, I'll take the heat. I'll take the heat. So hopefully the jurors are listening closely. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the jury acquitted her, if they're filled with the same people like we just heard from in this court. Is that all of Milwaukee? Do they all love illegal aliens so much that they're okay if their other innocent constituents are getting beaten by them? They're just will bend over backwards to obstruct federal law enforcement. It's a ridiculous situation. Hopefully justice is done and the jurors can see through this scam, but we'll keep our eye on this. We'll be back tomorrow to hopefully close out the trial and see where it goes once the defense presents their evidence. Thank you for joining us as we do. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll see you back here for the final day. All right, my friends, it has been a beautiful and an amazing day, quite frankly. We were here early this morning talking about Fani Willis, and we just wrapped it up with some of the highlights, including Fani Willis's polar bear outfit and her $11,000 Louis Vuitton handbag. Came into court screaming about the N-word and black people and black kids and white people and white CFOs and all sorts of weird stuff. We went through the transcript or some of the testimony today, and it was embarrassing, but Fulton County loves them some Fani. So we then turned our attention to Jack Smith. He was hauled into Congress today under subpoena to answer some questions about his rigged prosecutions, just like Fani. And it was all done behind closed doors. So we don't get much of what happened inside, but those transcripts will be released. The transcript will be released. And then we'll go through those and see what ultimately went down. But we had some good clips, some great questions from Ivan Raiklin and others, Bill Malugin, who were outside there. We saw his lawyer is a Democrat hack who's been a Democrat hack for a long time, worked on Fast and Furious. Obama, Clinton, all the things, before we turned our attention to Judge Duncan Doogie, who was out there letting illegal aliens use her backdoor, damning testimony, including her own admission, which sounds like it was displayed for the jurors to see today. So it was a great stream. And if you're looking for some more Fani Willis stuff, we did about 2 hours of that this morning. So check that out. It was a wild scene. She's a special one for sure. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. And we had some great donos this morning. Thank you for sending those in. Sorry, I had to jet. I had a dermatologist appointment and I don't have cancer on my face. Probably. She said, you probably don't. And I don't think I do. So I think we're good. But thanks for understanding. And that's good news. So here's what we got coming in. Today, we had some great comments. Today, oh my gosh. And I saw this meme too. Wait till you see this. This is just amazing. All right. So my friends, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for being membos and all the things. Here is this one. What you talking about, Fani Willis? There were some great Fani Willis memes. Remember that one of Nathan Wade where they play that song? He's like thinking for a long time they play that song. It's a good song. Anyways, 200 Watt Studios from this morning. Yeah, so after Fani went through her big... yeah, gosh. She's most proud of her Etsy store. So if you missed it this morning, Fani's like, I did this and I this. I got an A+ in this class and I got an A+ in this class and I turned in a diorama and my professor said I was very good and I have a sticker and I put it on my refrigerator. And my mama said, I am smart and I'm a good person. And she like did that for like 5 minutes. We're like, this is weird. So 200 Watt Studio says, but she's most proud of her Etsy store on top of everything, which is probably the most successful thing she's actually ever done. 200 Watt Studio says, I like a large staff in my office. This is a quote from Fani. A staff that is large and girthy. She does. She loves that girth. She says, if I wanted to get tainted, I'd call Wade. This is from Fani. Yeah, I think these might be real quotes. I'm not sure. 200 Watt Studio, hilarious quotes. Notice how she's wearing all white. Yeah, that's pretty racist, isn't it? 200 Watt Studio, and by distinguished resume, I mean a large ween. Ah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. She's Nathan's hot dog. We have the hot dog hat. I think it's right tucked in there. Nathan's hot dog. I should have busted it out for today. Is old homeless looking white guy the governor? Yeah, he is. And he was basically like falling asleep there. He's like, do you want to answer that? She's like, no, that's why I'm looking at you. He's like, but do you want to? He's like, no. Why? It was a wild scene. War crime enjoyer says an Air Force deployed a search and rescue squadron to the Caribbean last night. They only do this if they expect a manned aircraft mission, combat missions, and special operations teams that may need to be extracted or combat medevac. The Air Force doesn't want lay when it comes to rescuing their pilots. Expect kinetic operations to begin soon in Venezuela. Yeah, and Trump is going to come out in, I think, 2 hours from now and do a presidential address. And some people are speculating that it's war with Venezuela. So we'll see what he says and what the argument is for that, and then debrief. War crime enjoyer. Judges in 2040. Chat, 50 gifted, and I'll give him life. Which is probably pretty much kind of where we're going, honestly. These judges are so I think, politically aligned that they can't even judge appropriately, as we just saw from everybody in that whole building, including the chief judge. Hey, Maddie the Surfer says black fatigue, but especially black female fatigue is real. Yeah, that's a phrase that's going around a lot. And we definitely have Fani Willis fatigue. That's for sure. That I can say unequivocally. And anybody who acts like that, I have fatigue for. I don't even care what color you are. If you're a white person and you're talking like Fani was talking today, I'd call you an idiot and uneducated and trash, honestly. So just because she's a black female doesn't mean she's immune from any of those criticisms. She might call it racism or whatever. We really don't care. We want competency. She is not competent. And I don't understand. I mean, apparently that's exciting for many of her voters out there. They love that. Like, she's a strong black female hero or something. Like, okay. So judges in 2040, great comment. That looks like That looks like a real image. What's he doing? What's going on, Maddie the Surfer? Thank you for that comment. War Crime Enjoyer says, she went to all the crappy DA offices in the country to learn how to run a case. And she still failed. So she didn't learn anything. 200 Watt Studio says, Saki, not to be confused with Saki, my part-time girlfriend, like a sock. War crime. Rhodesia was the first country to fall because of the DEI. The West literally let communists take it over because of more racism and white people bad. England and certain parts of America are sharing Rhodesia's face because that they were responsible for. From War Crime Enjoyer. 200 Watt Studio, what's up? Hey, Philip Butler, good to see you. Says the DNA wasn't much good until 2000. Big database now on DNA. Yeah, that's true. I think that's true. It became like a very new, powerful technique recently. War Crime Enjoyer. How TF do you have a DA taxpayer funded office full of lawyers that aren't qualified to handle cases? She really wanted her lover to be on this. It's nice to see her admit that prosecutors and DAs don't hire people because they like the law and being a public servant, but believe that taxpayers should make them rich and have no accountability or skill to run cases. That's such a good point, too. I thought that you were like public servants and you just care about justice and public service. No, they just want a job. Fani wants to go buy $11,000 handbags. Trino Galaxy says, Fani, how dare you question my corruption? I'm the best DA in the Southeast. War Crime Enjoyer, good to see you, Trino, says Fulton County is a microcosm of South Africa. Once you realize that, it all makes sense. It's pretty humiliating. I mean, as a lawyer, to like think this is where our profession is going. You've got like Biggie Smalls Fani walking in with her fur coat and her handbags and like calling the questions dumb and lecturing everybody about how she's so awesome and innocent. It's like a joke. So Fulton County, thank you for that. Hey, Licka from the Licka Store is here. Hey, we have a black person here. Membo for 9 months. Man, shout out to our black friends who are watching the show. We appreciate that. I'm black and she's lying. So it's just double confirmation. I'm white and I said she was lying. So we have some agreement here. Thank you for that. Licka from the Licka Store. A black person here today with us, confirming she's a liar. Doesn't get more unequivocal than that. Thank you, Licka. Licka from the Licka Store. And we have a new baby, 9 months as a membo. Man, what a beautiful day. Trino Galaxy says, let me tell you something. Means her lies are being challenged, and she cannot stand that. Stay bent, Fani. Your anger proves us right. Yeah, and she said a lot of that. Like, she's gone, gone, do this, and gone, do that, and gone, do this thing, and all that. I'm like, okay. Anna Cross is the woman who burned Fani, then never came back to the case. Is that what that was? Yeah, there was a breakdown. Like Anna was furious. We never saw her again, remember? Oh, that's right, because they basically attacked her. Yeah, that was scandalous. So she's at a new law firm now. She got the hell out of there. Good for her. Sugary, sweet, and simple. Welcome aboard. Sugary, sweet, and simple. Membos, we'll be back tomorrow with the Membos only stream. We went live this morning to cover the biggest scandal in Fani land that you've ever seen. Here's this from War Crime Enjoyer. Says, as of December 25, the most recent detailed crime rate for Fulton County, which includes Atlanta and has a population of 1 million, comes from the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation. The total crime rate is 32 crimes per 1,000 residents. And how does that weigh or measure against like a national standard or other big cities would be my next question. Sandy's here. Sandy 11, what's up, Sandy? Fani is getting coal in her stocking again this year. She is much more hostile today than before. Yeah, well, she's kind of cornered, she's kind of finally cornered. And she just lost her biggest case, which was the RICO case. She's been disqualified, noxious odor. We don't know if she's having any personal problems with Nathan, who took his money and got out of there. Fani has no personal knowledge about how her office functions. She kept saying that. I don't recall. I don't know. I have no personal knowledge of that. In any other place in Fulton County, she would be fired for cause. I mean, she's elected. So I don't know if the governor or somebody can fire her or have that power to do it, but she's also elected with high margins because she is black, female, and Democrat. And those are like the three number one priorities for people in their party for whatever reason. Hey, Rhonda! Good morning, Just Rhonda in the house. Just Rhonda, thank you for bringing in 20 new membos, man, from this morning. And we're very excited to meet all of you. You know who you are. Just Rhonda, thank you for bringing in 20 of our new friends, aka Sassy Gemini, in the house. Sandy, to stay calm with such a hostile maniac must be the greatest fun a lawyer gets to have. Yeah, and he did a good job just like keeping a level head and just let her, you let them hoist themselves by their own petard. Just let them talk. Let them run their mouths. If they're doing damage to themselves, just get out of the way. You don't need to interrupt that. So it was like a slow boil. Like Fani came out, was kind of keeping it together. And then she's like, the N-word, thousands of N-words. I'm like, okay. Ashley Merchant, shout out to Ashley Merchant. We remember Ashley Merchant. This is embarrassing for the legal profession. The inability to answer a question is astounding. Yeah, well, they're running the whole show. In many locations, it's not just Georgia, it's New York. It's many places. And it's not just black prosecutors. You also have people like Jenna Griswold, okay? Crazy Eyes, leaky Jenna Griswold, who are also doing the same scams and scandalous things. Although I don't know if she's sleeping with anybody who's working for her. Probably not, because of who she is. Fawn Banks, what's up, Fawn Banks? Great to have you here. Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining up and becoming a member. Can't wait to see you tomorrow on the members only morning stream. Indoctrination. You guys, as soon as you're never going to guess who showed up this morning. As soon as we finished the show, I was like, all right, I got to get to the doctors. But then all of a sudden, look who showed up. Mr. President. He came in and said hello. He said, you're a true patriot, Rob. I said, thank you, Mr. President. We appreciate your strong leadership during this time. It looks great. One day, man, one day a boy can dream. And so how fun is that? I absolutely love that. So hopefully that happens one day. We get to shake the hand of the man himself. We appreciate the endorsement, Mr. President. We're going to keep up the work here. Supporting a positive agenda. Thank you for that. That came in from Indoctrination. Man, AI is crazy. And look what it did to the background. Added in a little stocking. Added in some lights around the Christmas ornament here. Watching the Watchers looks good. Thank you, Mr. It was a good show. Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Glad you enjoyed it. We appreciate that. All right, Sharpie guy, Rob, you are always many steps ahead of me and everyone else. I don't know about that. Kudos. When Fani said she was in charge of hiring different people for different things, I should have known that you would get to Nathan's hot dog, indicating her and her him. Indicting her and her him. LOL, freaking brilliant. It's pretty, yeah, thank you for the compliment, Sharpie guy. I appreciate that. Yeah, so Fani came down and she's like, well, other people hire other people for different amounts. This guy got hired for $500,000. This guy got hired for $8 million. This guy got hired for $4 million. Like, so what if I paid him $700,000? And our response was, were they having sex with each other? That's the problem. You had sex with him and then lied to us all about it. So it's not the same thing, Fani. It's like, hello, you're a lawyer. You should know that. Fani cannot stand being a Republican and standing against the party of slavery, and the KKK isn't a crime. How dare we reject their lies? Yeah, because in other words, you're saying she's a Democrat, and like the Democrats had like guys like Robert Byrd, who eulogized Robert Byrd? I think it was Joe Biden, like eulogized Robert Byrd, who was like the grand wizard of the KKK. Democrats. They don't like to admit that, but it's true. Thank you for that dono there, Trino Galaxy. NY, what's up? The good doctor in the house says the governor and Fani's decorum is obscene. It's trash. It's just like ghetto trash. Both of them, the governor too, and denotes how Democrats feel about Republicans. When they are not in charge, they have no respect. No, she indicted 19 people while she was sleeping with Nathan and paying him money and buying handbags and traveling on cruises and going all over the place while she was saying he was fair and impartial. He was neutral or whatever, special prosecutor. So thank you, NY. Dems love, says Leonards, Dems love to claim that they were threatened. I have no doubt there are never as many threats as the lying Dems claim. Fani said there were thousands of something. Thousands? And you just let that go on? You're a terrible prosecutor. Why can't you prosecute them? Hey, it's Arnold. The Iceman cometh. one of the worst Batmans of all time, but also amazing. Because that was the Iceman. Who else was in that? That wasn't Tommy Lee Jones. And I think that was it just Arnold? Anyways. Remember when he would shoot somebody and he'd say, "Stay cool." Iceman, what's up? Behold, those that are above the law and their absolute contempt for the peasants who call them out. That's exactly right. Yeah, they think that we're just little annoying little ankle biters and they owe us nothing, even though we are the people. They serve us. They think that these are their institutions and that they're smarter and better than us and they can do whatever they want and they act like it and they get away with it. Maybe they can. Retired 5-0, what's up? 6 months as a membo. Yeah, a cornered animal always lashes out, pounding the table, which is exactly what she's doing. Hey, retired 5-0, man. Shout out to our former LEOs in the house. We got a handful of them. We appreciate you joining up. Thanks for being here for 6 months. Retired 5-0 in the house. A cornered animal always lashes out. We saw it today. We got Jay Marino says, "Oh God, I'm burning my Emory law diplomas. I'm putting a paper bag on my head." Yeah, she said, she's like, "I went to Brown University, the best university on the planet. Then I went to Emory Law, the best law school on the planet. Then I lost my case and slept with my employee." NY says, "I thought Fani used cash." Maybe she used some of that Nathan Wade money to go buy that handbag. Who knows, NY. Hey, J.N. Risty, what's up? 2 months as a membo. Great to have you here. Thank you, J.N. Risty. First month's the hardest. Gets easier from there. We're glad you're here. We'll see you tomorrow. Psychological Projectionist is here. Says Fani gets the best bang for her Fulton County buck. That's good. She does get a lot of bang for her buck. Although, it's like $700,000. So, I mean, I don't know how much bucking she's getting, you know, but it's a lot. Hey, thank you for that. The Psychological Projectionist. We got the Savage, 1969 is here. This is the exact type of person we need to send back to McDonald's. Ma'am, just put the fries in the bag. That's all you're capable of doing. You shouldn't be handling a full prosecutorial office in Georgia. Sandy, all this additional details that Fani adds to her answers about how great people are is called filler, and dazzle them with BS. Dazzle them with BS. And I think she thinks if she acts like a rap star, then that might be good for her re-election campaign. Rub some dirt on it. What's up? Rob, your early departure is a blessing in disguise. I don't know how much more of her pontification I can take. And I was continuing to, I think we got the best bits of it when we were live together. It kind of trailed off. And then actually other people were questioning her who were on Team Fani. So they were just like, "So you're an honest person, aren't you?" She's like, "Yeah, of course I am." So it's kind of meaningless, but it was good. Your boy went, got checked out, and I'm in the clear. So that's good. Hey, here's Fani. Chubby, what's up, man? Thank you, Chubby. Man, nice dono. Says, tipping for the next 3 days of streams I'll be missing. Man, prayers up for Chubby over these next few days. Says, heading to San Francisco for my mom's service. Driving up tomorrow. Service is Friday. Driving back Saturday. Likely won't be making any of those streams those days. Chubby, we'll be missing you, my man, but we'll be sending you some prayers and energy. Chubby's mom passed away, I think, like Thanksgiving or the day thereafter, if I remember correctly. And Chubby, I'm so sorry, brother. Prayers up your way. Have a safe drive. Lots of love, hopefully being shared around your family. You're a good son for being there to support your family, and we'll catch you when you get back, my man, but prayers up for you. Safe travels and rest in peace to your mom. NY, disgraced prosecutor Jack Smith. It takes a lot to get rebuked by the Supreme Court. Yeah, Jack's had a bad trajectory there at the Supreme Court. No doubt about it. What's going on over here? War crime enjoyer. So we got some, looks like South Park images or something. Since war is set to commence in the next 12 hours in Venezuela, may I present to you what's about to happen to Maduro? Apparently he's going to get exploded or something. And there's a full-on story over there of death and destruction in the format of South Park, courtesy of War Crime Enjoyer on our locals. Thank you, War Crime Enjoyer, for that. Hey, Psychological Projectionist says, pay partner 3 times your salary and you 4x your household income. Yeah, Fani can't pay herself all that cash. So she just gives it to her lover and then he pays her for what she wants. Here, M. McKenna, what's up? Thank you both, Psychological and M. McKenna, for being membos. If she has no credit card, how does she pay $11,000 for a handbag? Good question. She probably has a personal credit card. I think she was talking about a county credit card because we were trying to follow the money in today's testimony. Did it come from the general fund? Did it come from the forfeiture fund? Where'd the money come from? From M. McKenna. So maybe Nathan gave it to her under her mattress. Cardinal O'Flanagan says, I would have loved if Rob jumped out yelling, "You're not a real boy, Jack." Well, we're talking about, going out to DC like for a long time, living there. So we're actually heading out to DC to scout it out. I've been there. Alexis has not ever been there. So we're going to go check it out soon, like the day after Christmas. We're going to continue to, stream and do our things, but we're going out there. We're going to check it out. So I'm sorry I missed that, but maybe in the future, the next hearing of Jack Smith, I'll be there, baby. "You're not a real boy, Jack." He'll look at me. We'll make eye contact and he'll know he's not. Hey, Cardinal O'Flanagan, 11 months as a membo, one more till a full anniversary for us, Cardinal. Hillary put merch on sale only hours after the Mar-a-Lago raid. Did she do that? She is a nasty woman, isn't she? Thanks for being here 11 months, Cardinal. Sheila the Pooh, 1,000,000 hugs to you. Thank you for sending this one in. 22 months as a membo, Sheila, you rock. We want to see the prosecutions. Let's go. I know. And I forgot. I mean, we covered it here, but I didn't remember it. But yeah, Thomas Wyndham has a prosecution. So I need to find out when that went over to Pam and when we will get an indictment. We want to see the prosecutions, baby. Hey, Joe Barkley. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for becoming a membo. We'll see you back in the morning on our Thursday members only morning stream. Might be talking about war with Venezuela. We'll see. Markish, what's up? 26 months as a membo. Hey, love the work you do, Rob. Keep it up. And Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. I think I say that back. Is that appropriate? I say Mazel Tov back to you. 26 months as a membo. Thank you for being here, Markish. We appreciate it. And thanks for being a membo. Thank you for the warm wishes and the nice time as a membo. 26 months. I was trying to calculate the number of babies, but I don't know. So Markish, thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Mazel Tov back at you. We got Milo Phone Bill says, why do they make it seem like there's a difference between a judicial warrant, which is criminal, and an administrative warrant, which is civil, in a public space like a courthouse? There's no Fourth Amendment protection in public spaces. Well, they are trying to, basically play semantics. And they were, in this case, I think what Dugan was trying to do was trying to like outsmart and, there's a phrase, I won't say it, trying to like override them with her power. She came out in her robe. She says, you need this and this. And they're like, we do? Like, we're ICE agents. And like, do we? You could see that. We do? Maybe we can't do the arrest. And they delay it or something. They're like, no, we're here. Shut up. Get out of our face. We're going to do it. But she was trying to throw her weight around, which is sizable. Sheila Pooh. Hey, Sheila, thanks for bringing in 10 more membos, baby. We'll see all of our new friends tomorrow morning. Real B, Walter Wajikula. We got Dee Dee McGee. We got Dore Me. What's up? Will H, Craig Simpson, Truth Hurts, Gary Herman in the house. We got Daplock also joining us along with Liberty Bell Lyric, courtesy of Sheila Pooh. 1,000,000 hugs to you. Thank you, Sheila. Welcome 10 new membos. Milo Phone Bill says Democrats constantly conflate legal immigrants who are here on a long-term visa or green card and illegal aliens. They call them both the same thing. And the judges are apparently infected by the same mind virus. Is that what you think they think? Do you think that they think that the ICE is here arresting people on green cards? Like, are they really that dumb? Probably. Tony Hay Munkets. Hey, it's the Munkets in the house. What's up, Tony Hay? Thank you, man, for bringing in 10 new membos. Lori Flynn is here. Kiki Knows. Kitty Cat, welcome. Car Lowen. What's up? Sadie, the fart bag lady. Welcome. Jesse from the Nap. We got Jack Smith is here. Hey, Jack. Welcome. Pay attention to the show. You might learn something. We got James Johnson, Kevin Bodman. We got Carl Drummond. What's up, Dark Giratana Girl in the house. Just Rhonda, thanking and welcoming all of our new membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Hey, It's the Munkets. Trino Galaxy said, these judges just want blood on the streets. That's why they release these criminals and then justify their actions when something horrible happens. Yeah, and there's like no skin in the game for them. They've got judicial immunity. So if they release an illegal, he goes and stabs somebody, no problem for them. They don't care. And they go to sleep at night like it ain't nothing. Will Crump said Fani really showed everyone her fanny today and is digging her own grave in this oversight hearing. I hope she gets totally defeated and impeached and disbarred. I don't know, man. I think that the people of Fulton County she might go up 10 points. They love it. Yeah, she's like Tupac or something. Karane Oni, and I like Tupac. Karane Oni. Hey, what's up? 17 months as a membo. That's 2 babies, pretty sure, close to. Thank you for always being informative, as always, good sir. Here's to many more. Thank you. Karine Oni in the house. Very nice to see you here. Thank you for being here for 17 months and for the nice shout out today. Yeah, we appreciate that. We are. Many more. We're just warming up. We got a country to save here, baby. Hey, Karani Oni in the house. 10 membos coming in. Thank you very much for doing this. We got Pete is here. Nick Mullen. Asa Rune. Soman Ribe in the house. We got Blue Bayou. What's up, Walter? We got Dustin. Chief Librarian Mayo Nays is here. Brian Collier. That guy's here. Suzanne B66 and D Holland in the house. Welcome aboard, courtesy of Karani Oni in the house. Welcome aboard. Great to see you. We'll see you tomorrow on the members only stream as well. We got Truth Seeker American. Thank you, Truth Seeker American, for being a member, for the nice dono, for supporting us on the show today. Grateful for you. Thank you for that. A Dutchie's mom says, liar, Fani. Oh, and this morning, man, I forgot to mention this today, but they said multiple times that the J6ers killed a cop today. They killed a cop. They are liars, liars, liars. During the YSL trial, I verified her pay. She is paid by both the county and the state. There you go. So I'm sure there are multiple lies that they're going to be able to attach after this, but we'll see if it leads to a prosecution or a special counsel or somebody, because like Fani's not going to prosecute herself. So what's going to happen? Hey, Rob, please explain. We'll see if we can. Eduardo, the illegal, was not charged with improper entry without inspection because his immigration violation was unlawful reentry after prior deportation, a separate and more serious felony offense. Okay. Do I need to? It sounds like you just explained that very nicely. Yeah. So that makes sense to me. Exactly as you explained it. Not charged with that because he actually had a more serious offense under 1326 for illegal re-entry. Okay. You've already been deported. You've come back. That's a more serious crime than just being deported the first time. Yeah. Bongino. Is that right? Bongino announced his FBI resignation effective January. Rest in peace to the FBI. So I saw rumors of that. Did that just break? I saw Trump was asked about that today. Trump said, well, I think he wants to go back to podcasting, which I think that's right. I think that's right. So, all right, well, all right, we'll see what happens. We'll see what Dan says. We'll come back to that. Thank you for that. I wonder why. Why is he leaving? Is it because he can't get anything done and he's frustrated and like the FBI is over? Is it because he thinks he was successful? Like he's already accomplished everything he's set his mind to, and so he's done? And like the FBI is amazing, so like we're all good now? He can go back to podcasting, just needed like a year off or whatever? We'll have to wait and see what he says, but yeah, that's going to be curious. We had high hopes for Dan, and we don't think that the FBI is fully reformed. So if he's leaving, it may not be for a good reason. Hey, 3 babies. Thank you for calculating this for us. 27 months as a membo. This is DCF Sleeps with Tarpon Springs PD. I don't even know what DCF stands for, but all right. Or what a Tarpon Spring is, but amazing. Thank you for being here for 3 full babies. Hey, love your show, Rob. Please hit that thumbs up, man. Thank you. DCF Sleeps with Tarpon Springs PD. In the house. Is that your significant other? Tarpon Springs? Are they a police department? Anyways, 27 months, DCF, Sleep with whoever you want to. We're glad you're here. Freedom forever. Has anyone considered the COVID jab and the loss of common sense maybe go hand in hand? Maybe. Yeah. Like, how many boosters did Fani Willis get? How many boosters did the governor get? Roy Barnes? Probably a lot. Maybe that explains it. Mark Butcher. Hey, Mark, good to see you again. 24 months as a member. Happy 2-year anniversary to us. We appreciate that. RG 1-up. Like Rob Gouveia gets a 1-up in a Mario game. I like it. Mrs. T. Rush. She wore all white to appear pure and virtuous. Yeah. Women do that. Like we saw Clavicle Girl do that. Remember when Clavicle Girl Cassidy Hutchinson came out, in my opinion, lied through her teeth about all of the Trump stuff at the J6 stupid committee hearings? She wore all white. They all do that. Like, we can just see what a dark person you are. We can see through your outfit right to your dark and blackened soul. Tony, hey, Munkets, what's going on? Hey, Tony, hey, good to see you. Hey, it's the Munkets. Thanks to the governor of California, Nevada and Arizona gas prices are probably going to skyrocket. Is he cutting off supply or something like that? Gavi Newsy. Thanks for the dono there, Tony, hey, and for bringing in new membos. Are you going live for Trump's speech? No, I think we'll call it as soon as we're done here, and we'll come back tomorrow and debrief that. Pete Smith, you're a membo, so we'll cover it in the morning and see what's going on. But we'll let Trump deliver what he's going to deliver, and then we'll hit it back tomorrow. But I'm sure it's going to be an interesting one. But thank you, Pete Smith. Thanks for being a membo. Thanks for being here. We'll recap it tomorrow morning when we're back. Mrs. T. Rush, I couldn't believe all of the anti-white racist comments she made. She hates white people. Hates them. That's why I hired a white CEO. So you white people won't say I stole anything. We are saying you stole something. So that was not a good strategy. Because everybody's saying you stole like $7,000 for your lover who you were sleeping with. So that didn't really insulate you. So next time, try a new strategy. Why did they let her get away with that? Probably, I mean, what do you say? Like, Fani, you're a racist. Stop attacking white people. Like, what do you say? Just let her run her mouth. Everybody can tell. They wouldn't if it were the other way around. Yeah, I think that's right. Just flip that. What if it was some white guy standing there or some white woman on the podium is like, I hired a black lady so that nobody would call me racist. Okay. I hired a black woman, so I'm not racist. Okay. Shut up. You're like, wow, this is getting weird pretty quick. Former says Dan is down the road. Okay. So it's official, huh? Wow. Okay. So Dan is down the road. Thanks for your effort, even though you were not successful. Yeah. I don't think it was mission accomplished. So I don't know why he's leaving. I will be leaving my position with the FBI in January. Too many leaks. There was like 8 people who told MS Now about this today. I want to thank Trump, Bondi, like when in January, Bondi, Patel, and most importantly, I want to thank you, my fellow Americans, for the privilege to serve. God bless America and all those who defend her. Oh, man, it's a bummer. Yeah, it's a bummer. It's not, I think, a good sign. My initial reaction is not a good sign. But we'll see what else comes. Thanks for the heads up on that, former LEO. And I don't think that Dan and Cash were like knocking it out of the park, but if he's abandoning ship, like to go back to his podcast, it must be pretty bad. Hey, NY, it's wrong for judges to take public stances on the immigration issue. Totally. And to enable that type of culture in their court. It's like a bunch of children. Okay, you don't like the policy? You've made a commitment to enforce the law and set all that aside. If you don't want to be a judge, go be a prosecutor, go be a defense attorney, go be an illegal alien lawyer. Go for it. You're a judge. So act like it or get out or go to jail. The left's resistance is only a sign of a low-level civil war going on. We've said that. We think we're in the middle of a cold civil war already. Because you have states that are openly inviting foreign invaders to come in. They're stealing our money in the form of taxation that we pay for their Medicare, for their schools, for their healthcare, for their lawyers. Doesn't matter. So yeah, they're stealing from us. They're waving foreign flags around. We've got judges in sanctuary cities that are openly obstructing the federal government. Not one judge obstructing the federal government. Entire cities obstructing the federal government. Entire states passing legislation to obstruct the federal government. If that's not a cold civil war, I really don't know what else you need to have. They're saying you can arrest ICE agents if you come to their cities and things like that. And judges are enabling that. So It's politics as usual. It's not. It's an insurrection. And you see how embedded it is into these institutions. You would never get, if you were an American citizen, a white guy charged with a crime, and you're in this court, and federal agents showed up to say, oh, we're going to arrest you and charge you with a federal crime, Rob. You're a white Italian guy, Portuguese guy. And you're now being charged with federal crimes. And we caught you for your state crimes. Do you think that Dugan and Carl Ashley, and the rest of these court reporters who are all disgusted and calling everybody fascist, you think that they would bend over backwards for you and escape you out the courtroom? No, because you're just a white American citizen, even if you're not white. Like, what if you're a black guy, a black American citizen? Would they give you that benefit? I don't think so. It's for illegals. NY says, Fani embarrassed herself as an elected official to carry on like that at a hearing. I know, but her people love it. She's like a fighter. She had a similar demeanor when she testified in court, and she got reelected. In my opinion, it should be something for the bar to take up. They're too scared of her because she'll just go in there and scream at them, and they'll just back down. Like, wow, she's crazy. So I think Fani has jumped the shark, says Raiklin. I don't know. I mean, definitely in terms of being a competent, capable prosecutor, but as a Democrat politician, like, they're all turning into Jasmine Crockett's everywhere. Red Alert, what's up? Hey, the best is yet to come. 2026, here we go. It's true. We are in the first quarter. It's easy to black pill and, say it's all hell. But if you say, if you go that route, I think that you de-energize people get unplugged, and the chance at reform goes to zero. It may be low. It might be 5%, 6% that we can change the system. Maybe lower than that, maybe 1%. But if you're not engaged or even playing at all, like if you're not even playing the game, it's zero. And if you expect everybody else to, handle all of this stuff for you so that you can go watch football and listen to Kim Kardashian or whatever it is that's going on out there that most of the public is consumed with, obviously not speaking to you. This, we're all in alignment with how important this stuff is. But the other people are just like, I can't take politics anymore. It's like, well, you're abdicating your responsibility to improve your country. It's a republic if you can keep it. And if you're not willing to fight to keep it, then what are we even doing? Hey, Tony, hey, Munkets. Hey, it's the Munkets, baby. I felt kind of bad telling you the other day about saying, hey, it's the Munkets the other day. I love you, brother. But I got to say, I love hearing you say it. It makes me so happy. I should say it. It's the right thing to say. I'm glad that you brought it to my attention, Tony. Hey, sometimes we get a little bit sloppy over here, So it is, hey, it's the Munkets. It's the only Tony Hey Munkets that there is. Hey, it's the Munkets. Hey, Rel. Rel is here. What's up, Rel? Bringing in 5 more membos. Sean Register. What's up? Cindy Klein. We got Tank Moshiff is here. Clay Beret. Tony V in the OC coming in. Courtesy of Raiklin. Thank you, Rel. We appreciate the new membos. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Tarpon Springs is here in Florida. Oh, it's a city. So DCF was sleeping with the Tarpon Springs Police Department? Man, good for him. Best Greek food you've ever had, courtesy of Mrs. T. Rush. Man, thanks for the heads up on that. I didn't know anything about it. Hey, Jay Fisk, what's up? Jay Fisk, thank you for signing up, my man. We'll see you tomorrow on the members-only stream in the morning. It will be a good one because we'll have the presidential message to debrief. Tony Hey Munkets says Chevron is leaving California and a major refinery is leaving too, and we got a pipeline. We get our gas from California, so it's going to screw us. Yeah, I remember that. Arizona. Yeah, that's interesting. So Cali prices must go through the roof, if that's right. Hey, Relantel. Hey, pretty sure you're going to work on that new ham radio study in the new year, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Definitely. I like, in all seriousness, I do want to get my ham license because it's actually a fascinating thing to learn. Like, I started to study it. I'm like, this is very interesting. And you can beam stuff off the atmosphere, beam these radio signals off the atmosphere, bounce it down to the other side of the planet. It's crazy what you can do with the ham radio stuff. So I would like to do it. I don't know how much use we'll get out of it in DC, but I would like to do it. Hopefully, it's also accomplished around the same time that I figure out how to use my telescope and become an astronomer as well. So we've got a lot of things I got to work on over here. But ham sounds like a good one. All right, we got some locals comments in the House. Amy Ann says, and you wouldn't read my comment out loud. What was it? I don't remember what it was. Was it on the morning chat? And here, Agent Smith from The Final Matrix says, it sounded good to me from Londo. Good to see you, Amy Ann. Says, hearing the reporters repeat Mr. Smith over and over again reminds me of one of the sequels to The Matrix. Oh, got it. So Mr. Smith. Yeah, Agent Smith. The Democrat automaton. Agent. Hey, the Veil, totally hope those questions that Ivan asked gets all around the internet and goes viral and thus forcing it to be discussed on the mainstream airtime. Totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you, the Veil. Nathan says, news, Dan Bongino stepping down. Man, yeah, that's crazy. His first podcast back is going to be a burner, isn't it? A lot of questions. Looks like in order to afford that handbag, she switched from drinking Grey Goose to beer, says Bonnie. She grew a beer belly. She did, actually. She looks extra big fanny. She did. She's not pregnant, is she? I don't think so. I mean, she did have a lot of sex with Nathan, so who knows? Is she carrying Nathan's baby in there? Oh, my goodness. So maybe that's why she needed the polar bear jacket. All right, so yeah, she was looking a little large. And I'm not sure why exactly, but maybe it's the beer. It's probably a good idea from Bonnie. Thank you, Bonnie. Indoctrination shared this from Just the News. Let's cue that up. Thank you, Indoctrination. Bonnie says, hey, remember Fulton County DA Fani had a tax lien of $4,600 on her home when she took office? That was still outstanding in early 2024 during the hearings about her relationship. Wow, I didn't know that. Or maybe we covered it, but I don't remember that. Now she can afford an $11,000 purse. Definitely not very money-wise. Besides, her purse didn't even coordinate with her outfit. It didn't even match. That's not a baby, says Red Alert. That's gas. Could be that too. They did say there was a noxious odor. That's probably what it is. It's a noxious odor in her intestines. The Veil. Hey, kind of curious. Well, I shouldn't be, but maybe I should. Is the reason Fani is lashing out is because she lost her boy toy and is thus in withdrawals? Maybe. Yeah, she's just a little, sexually frustrated. She just needs a good night out and then she'll be normal again. Maybe. Sergeant Bob, Fani is more insufferable than watching Karine Jean-Pierre. Yeah. More? Yeah, that's a tough one. That's like, would you rather be like stabbed to death or shot to death? You're like, I don't know. Neither, really. If I have to take one, I guess maybe a bullet, I guess. I don't know. So Fani, thank you for that. And maybe not a good analogy in spite of all the news lately, but Sergeant Bob, thank you for that. Let's say what's up to our morning thread on locals. Make sure we got any comments that came in over there from this morning. Don Fowler. Hopefully she keeps her shoes on. Yeah. And that's Fani from this morning. And I think you might be referencing Letitia. Remember Letitia went into the trial and Alina Abba said that Letitia took her shoes off. And Alina was disgusted. She's like, she took her shoes off in the courtroom. Sick. That's because Alina's a classy gal. And you shouldn't take your shoes off in court, especially when you're the AG and you have stinky, disgusting feet. So, Don. When he announced the other guy wasn't going to be there, she shook her head. Yeah, and Fani was going after this other guy called Bill Cowsert, who's also on that Senate panel, but apparently had a medical thing happen, so he was not there this morning. So she was just attacking him like, he's attacking me. It would have been nice if he was there, but something happened. So, Sandy, what's up? So what is she doing comparing herself to Nancy Grace? 100% conviction rate doesn't mean that they're all guilty. It means they pleaded guilty with a plea or folded. I'm sure there are many guilty. Yeah, and I think she kept saying like 92% conviction rate or whatever. And okay, are you like the chief of police in DC who is lying about her numbers? Are you charging serious crimes that you know you're going to have a difficult time getting a conviction? Or are you just deferring to like the urinating in Publix and like all the people who would just bend over and accept a plea deal and call that a conviction rate? These prosecutors are liars. Numbers are, people just lie about numbers constantly. Here's a link over to Frank Zappa. with the song called Stinkfoot, which I didn't even realize was a song, but that must be Fani's theme song. Minnie Busy says Barnes is acting as her counsel. Yeah, Roy Barnes, the governor. Jamie Lynn, busted. What's up, Jamie? Good to see you this morning. And Sandy says, wow, what a see you next Tuesday. P says her bumping and twerking in her seat is very distracting. Yeah, she was doing the little dance over there. Those are the threads that we dropped. Hey, Starship Pooper. What's up, Starship Pooper? So painful to listen to her claptrap. Likely her strategy into her base, and she's fighting back. She's fighting back those rascally Republicans. Yeah, is what she's doing from Starship Pooper. No doubt about it. Oh, Dunning-Kruger from Cliff Norman. What's up, Cliff? Good to see you. Hey, Fani is a great example of the Dunning-Kruger effect. The less one knows about a subject, the more confident they are in their level of knowledge. On the other end of the spectrum, the more you know about a subject, the less confident you are in your level of knowledge. This is why when one typically asks a PhD a question, you get a 2-word opening, quote, it depends. That's an interesting phrase because they taught us that like day one of law school. The answer is always, it depends, argue both sides. You'll do much better than if you just say the answer is this. The more, confidence, I think, leads to, overconfidence, which can lead to a major downfall. So you know nothing. You have a valley of despair, a slope of enlightenment, a plateau of sustainability. And Fani is right here. She's at the peak of Mount Stupid. That's where Fani lives her whole life. Cliff, thank you for that great comment. Dunning-Kruger effect from this morning. Hey, Boopsie, what's going on? Rob, would you ever consider writing a book, something like Government Gangsters or Injustices of the 2020s? You know it all very well at this point. Yeah, I've thought about it, Boopsie. So I'm actually working on a book right now, but it's a fiction. And in the book, it interweaves a lot of the things that we talk about into this narrative, which I think is very fun. So I'm working on it. It's got a lot of work left on it. But I've got a draft. It's like 15 chapters. I'm working on it. I'm having a lot of fun with it, actually. I wish I had more time to work on it. But I think this is going to be interesting because it kind of takes a lot of what we talk about and it turns it into this grand conspiracy that's a lot of fun. But maybe after that one comes out. But this is fun. Yeah, this is fun. And Boopsie, thank you for the endorsement, first of all. That's a really nice compliment. I appreciate that. We do cover a lot of stuff, man, and we could easily, I think, we could do a better job of making it more transferable, like consolidate all of these things into something that's more evergreen so that people can get the full summary. I've been inspired by the other books. I mean, The Whistleblowers, read through, a good portion of this and the others. We want to chronicle it, but I think a fictional novel might be a good way to also help win the culture war, because you can use these fictional things that have close proximity to what happened in the real world to illustrate how nefarious the whole thing is in this world that we're building. So anyways, thank you, Boopsie. I'm having fun with it. And I hope I would ask you to hold me to getting it done because I think it'll be a good one. Resin Waves by Veronica says it's Florida. DCF is the same as CPS. Too many kids taken away from parents. Sleeps with the law? Yes, it's bad because they are now cases against them. As to physically, I don't know. I don't doubt it. Keep up the great job. Thank you, Resin Waves by Veronica. We're going to have to ask DCF what he means by all of this. He sent in that comment earlier and confused us all. Don't even know what he's talking about. So thank you, Resin Waves. So DCF and that other place are in Florida, and he's sleeping with somebody over there, I think. Soapy Enigma says, make it a comic book. Comic book's an interesting one. This is like a full novel. Yeah, it's like how many words am I at? A lot. I forget what the total number was because I deleted some stuff and then I added some stuff. So, but we're getting up there. Like it's getting close to, I have a nice draft that I'm on my read through on right now. And it's going slowly, but that's how it goes, writing a book. All right, my friends, thank you so much for sending those in. Very nice of you to do that. We had a great couple of streams today. Soapy Enigma, thanks for sending that one in. Very much appreciate you. We got President Trump coming up in about an hour and 10 minutes, I believe, which should be very interesting. Very interesting. So we'll see what he says, but we'll pause here for the day. It has been a beautiful stream. Thanks for hanging with us twice today. If you missed the Fani stuff this morning, we had a fun time, so check that stream out. But otherwise, we'll pause here. We'll come back tomorrow. Membos will be back in the morning to talk about whatever the president says in just a few minutes. And then, of course, we'll be back for the regular show as well in the afternoon, the normal stream at the regular time. And we can't wait to see you there. So if you haven't already, thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for sharing the show with every single person in your phone book. I know that's a big ask, but we appreciate it. Thank you. So we'll pause here for the evening, my friends. Before we wrap it up, big thanks and shout outs to our amazing mods, of course. K-Bean, thank you so much for helping this afternoon. We got Donut, Mind Me. We got John in the house, Muffin Rando, Carrie B, Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger, Geegum Geegum, Elliot, Just Rhonda. What a bunch of amazing mods we have. Thank you to our amazing mods. And my friends, thank you to you for being here. We appreciate it. We couldn't do this work without you. So thanks for being here and joining us as we go through all of this and more. But we'll pause here for the night. We'll see what the president has to say. We'll debrief tomorrow and we'll get into it again. And I hope that you join us as we do, because we will be back here tomorrow. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. We brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we exposed corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through the scripted ruse. Together we are